All right, Shalom Israel. Welcome back to Wednesday night class. It's good to see everybody. Good to see everybody in person. For those that came out in person, and shout out and shalom to you online also. For those that are online, mighty shout out to Kawakab down in Guatemala and his congregation. Hope everybody's doing well. Shout out and shalom to Houston, Quadazab in Houston, Kazaki in Norfolk, Virginia, and Zion in Rochester, New York. And shout out and shalom to people in Detroit. Our brothers and sisters in California, New Mexico, Florida. Shout out and shalom to everybody. We're listening to the radio and heard some bad news that Detroit, I guess they got some type of freeze going on right now. And I heard that a family, a wife or a mother and her two kids, the two kids froze to death because they were sleeping. They were homeless and they were sleeping in the car.
Sad.
So prayers, most definitely, for those, whoever lives in Detroit that's going through this winter storm, winter weather. And it's a sad case that homelessness has taken lives like that for people that are finding refuge in vehicles. You know, that's a very sad situation. So I hope those families get some aid and some support. Not that I don't know who they were, but just heard it on the radio, so it's a sad situation. Prayers going out to people in Detroit and anybody experiencing hardships like those in California just last month that was catching hell with them wildfires. So our thoughts and prayers are for them also. So let's go and get started on this topic. The topic of today's class is called Obtaining Discernment Made Easy. All right, obtaining discernment made easy. So does anybody know what discernment is? So that way, for those that may not know, we can kind of slow it down and get some understanding on that.
Just knowing right from wrong.
Yep. All right. So knowing right from wrong. Anybody else?
What's the question?
Does anybody know what discernment is?
Discernment is, right from wrong. The judgment, have a judgment, proper judgment.
Proper judgment. Knowing right from wrong. All right. Well, today we're going to look at obtaining discernment and how it's made easier. So let's start off with Luke chapter 8, and we're going to go to verse 43. Let's go to Luke chapter 8, and let's go to verse 43. And we're not going to go fast, but we do want to kind of get through it, but I want to make sure we get some understanding right here.
Luke chapter 8, verse 43. Simon answered and said,
Luke chapter 8, verse 43.
Luke 8 and 43. And a woman having an issue of blood 12 years.
So for those that know, we may have read this story before in different classes. This woman is having a cycle, a cycle of, menstruation cycle, but it's not stopping after 7 days. It's an irregular cycle. And she has a cycle for how long?
12 years.
So that's abnormal. That's that's a problem right now. You got a cycle that's lasting 12 years. It's a long time, and they're supposed to last 7 days every month. But so she has this 12-year cycle. Read on.
Which has spent all her life living upon physicians.
It says she spent all her what?
All her life.
Her living.
All her living upon physicians.
So she spent all her living upon physicians. So this woman is trying to get medicine. She's trying to get some healing. She's trying to get an answer, a solution, a prescription, some type of healing from this circumstance. Read on. And then she went broke trying to find the appropriate medical assistance and medical help. Right? Read on.
Neither could be healed of any.
And no physician was able to heal this woman. Nobody had a remedy. Nobody had a concoction. Nobody had a diet, a regimen. Nobody had any answers on solving this woman's issues. Right? Read on.
Said neither could be healed of any, came behind him and touched the border of his garment.
So obviously, Christ had fringes on. She touched the border of his garment. She touched the fringe of his garment. Read on.
And immediately her issue of blood stench
It says, and immediately her issue of blood staunched. It staunched, meaning it stopped immediately. So as soon as she touched the hem of his garment, the border of his garment, right away, that 12-year dilemma disappeared. Right away, that 12-year issue stopped. It said, read on.
And Yahushua said, who touched me?
Now, stop right here. And so he spoke out loud and said what?
Who touched me?
Who touched me? Now, keep in mind, this woman just grabbed a fringe. She just grabbed the border of his garment. Wasn't much. It wasn't like a lot. She didn't grab him by his shirt and jerk him. She just touched the hem. And he said, who touched me? Read on.
He said, who touched me? When all denied,
Peter, so all the 12 disciples are like, wasn't me. You know, Andrew, like, wasn't me. John, that wasn't me. I didn't do it. And then Peter is like, what?
Peter and they that were with him said, Master, the multitude thronged thee and pressed thee.
We're in the middle of a crowd, man. It's like a mosh pit to see Christ.
Who's going to know?
Like, how are you asking me who thronged you or who touched you when the multitude is crowded around you? Everybody's trying to get to you. What kind of question is that? Why would you ask that question on who touched you and you see all these people? Look at all these people. Look at this crowd. That's what Peter is seeing. He's looking at the multitude. He's looking at the crowd that's surrounding Yahushua. And he said, how are you going to ask a question like that? How are you going to ask who touched me? Read on.
Master, the multitude thronged thee and pressed thee, and sayest thou, who touched me?
And you're going to ask a question like, who touched you? What is Peter thinking right here? Anybody? Stupid question. That's what Peter's thinking. You see all these people? And you're going to ask who touched you? That's a dumb question. In Peter's mind, that's a dumb question. In Peter's mind, that doesn't make sense. How can you ask this question and want us to tell you of all these people around you who touch you? So it's something that Peter don't understand. It's something that Peter can't see. But it's something that Christ sees. It's something that Christ knows that Peter doesn't know. So he says, you're going to say, who touched you? Stop right there. The question is, why did Peter ask this question? Does anybody know?
Christ or Peter?
Yeah, Peter. Peter. Why did Peter make this statement and say, how are you going to see all these people surrounding you like a mob? And you're going to ask who touched you? Why would Peter say that?
Because he's getting touched too, along with all the other disciples.
Because he's witnessing the crowd. He's getting touched too. Everybody's pushing, and he says being thronged. Everybody's being thrown around. People kind of. You ever see paparazzi follow somebody that's famous, and how they as soon as they step out the car, they just want an autograph, or they want a picture, or they ripping at them, grabbing at them. You ever see Michael Jackson in Europe when Michael Jackson did these European tours, when he was in London or in Paris or in Russia or in Prague, and how the fandemonium was crazy. People was going crazy, passing out, screaming, sweating, losing their mind. And he said, the question is, why would Peter ask that to Christ? Why does it matter? What's the importance? Okay.
Are you saying it's an impossible question?
Yeah.
It's no way. It's almost unreasonable. He's thinking maybe it's unreasonable, it's impossible to even figure something. How can that be a concern right now based on what's happening around us? How can you expect us to know this? Exactly.
How can you expect us to know this? What you're asking for is far-fetched. It's a far-fetched question. It's hard to decipher who did that based upon all these people. Because what Peter is looking at is the people. Peter is looking at the masses. He's looking at the crowd. It's something that he doesn't understand. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 9. And let's start at verse 13.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 9, and verse 13. For what man is he that can know the counsel of the Most High?
It says, for what man is he that can know the counsel or the understanding or the wisdom of the Most High? Because the problem is Peter is looking at the people. He's looking at the crowd. He's not able to see or understand, as if Christ gets a kick out of asking questions that seem useless or unreasonable. It's something that Christ understands and knows that Peter doesn't understand and know. That's why he's asking these questions. But the question is, who can understand the counsel of the Most High? Anybody would think like Peter thinks. Anybody would see the situation like Peter. It doesn't make sense that you ask us who touched you and you see all these people. Ridiculous question. So people don't know the counsel of the Most High. He said what? Read it again.
Wisdom of Solomon 9 and 13. For what man is he that can know the counsel of the Most High?
So it takes a special man to be able to understand the mind of the Most High. It takes a special person to be able to understand the mind of the Most High. Read on.
Or who can think what the will of the Lord is?
Or who can figure out what the will of the Most High is? Why would this be happening? Did Peter stop and say, wait a minute, this might be a trick question that you asked me, man. This sounds like a trick question. Or maybe you're trying to get me to see something that I don't see. Did he ever stop and think that, as if Christ is known for asking silly questions? Or did he stop and analyze and say, why would he ask me this question? What is he trying to get me to see? What is he trying to get me to understand? Did he even ask, why did you ask this question? He just said, how can you ask this question knowing that you see all these people around you? And you going to ask who touched you? Peter asked Christ a question with a question.
Yeah.
You asked me a question, I got a question for you. How you going to ask that question? That question don't make no sense. So he says, who can do what?
God. Or who can think what the will of the Lord is?
Who can figure this out? There's a problem with the way Christ thinks and the way we think. There's a separation. What is this separation? Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 32. Start at verse 28.
Sometimes people think they know better than the Most High. They know, I know what's better for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people may think that, I got it figured out. Or it doesn't make sense. Let's get that Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 28.
Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 28. For they are a nation void of counsel.
It says the problem is with our people, we are a nation of people that are what?
Void of counsel.
What does that mean?
I don't understand.
No instruction.
Void of counsel. We don't have any advice, or we don't take advice. We don't have insight. We're a whole nation. Our whole nation is made up of a people that is void from understanding the Most High's will. Yes, sir.
Or if we have a problem, we don't ask for advice.
We don't ask for it.
We just keep it to ourselves. And we suffer in silence.
Or we try to figure it out on our own. Or we'll come up with our own answers.
Yeah, we just guess.
Or we're guessing. We'll come up with our own answers. We'll come up with our own solutions. We'll figure it out on our own. He said, the problem is there's a separation of understanding between the way Christ thinks versus how we think. And you could see it manifest itself. The water, sir. You can see it manifest itself in how Christ is thinking versus how Peter is thinking. Two different ways of thinking. He says, we are a nation of people that are what?
Void of counsel.
What else?
Neither is there any understanding in them?
It said also we're absent of what?
Understanding.
We don't understand. So that's why things that Christ is saying is not making sense. It doesn't make sense to us. That's why sometimes we read the Bible and the Bible don't make sense to us either. We don't ask enough questions. We don't seek to understand. We just say, man, I read it, it didn't make sense to me. That was it. That's about as far as we go. We don't take additional steps to try to figure things out. We don't try to seek deeper and peel back multiple layers to figure out the mind of the Most High. Let me peel back this thought. Peter he never stopped and said, you might be trying to get me to see something right here. What is it that you're trying to get me to learn? Never stopped. It just went from you ask a question about who touched you. You see all these damn people around you. It don't make no sense to ask that question. It didn't go any further than that. And it never goes any further than that with a lot of our people when it comes to understanding the mind of the Most High. We don't ask enough questions. He says, we're a nation that's what?
Void of counsel. Neither is there any understanding in them.
Read on.
Oh, that they were wise.
It says, oh, that they were what?
They were wise.
He says, oh, that they were what?
Wise.
Man, does the Most High want us to be wise? Or does he want us to remain a nation void of counsel and no understanding?
He sounds like he's upset that we're not wise.
He's almost mourning the fact that we're not wise.
Yeah.
He's almost mourning the fact that, man, he said, oh, that they were wise. Like, oh my goodness, Lord help them. I only wish that they were wise. Only if they had the Most High's wisdom and understanding. So he said, oh, that they were wise. Read on.
Oh, that they were wise. That they understood this.
And that they could understand. Read.
It says, that they would consider their latter end.
He says, oh, if they only knew what situation being void of counsel and understanding will get them in. And the trouble that's to come from not having understanding, from not having the counsel of the Most High readily available. He says, if they only understood how detrimental it is for their future to possess the Most High's understanding, I only wish they would obtain it. Moses is crying out right here, hoping that we would once get the point and get what the Most High is trying to give us. But there's a disconnection. There's a lack of understanding. There's a voidness, an emptiness of counsel that we don't have, that we don't pursue. Let's go back to Luke chapter 8, verse 45 one more time.
Luke 8 and 45. And Yahushua said, who touched me? When all denied, Peter and they that were with him said, Master, the multitude thronged thee and pressed thee, and sayest thou, who touched me? And Yahushua said, somebody had touched me.
He said what?
Somebody had touched me.
He said somebody had touched me though. So although they're saying you're asking us a question that doesn't make sense, Christ is confirming the fact that no, I know why I'm asking you.
Yeah.
Because somebody did touch me. Now, what does this show about our people?
Disconnected.
There's a disconnection. It shows that there's a disconnection. I want to go to Wisdom of Solomon real quick. Chapter 9. We was in verse... I want to go to verse 9. We was in verse 13. I want to go down to verse 16.
Not verse 16.
Yeah. So even if Peter would have said, that guy touched you. or Thomas would have said, oh, that guy over there touched you. He was closer to you. Or that guy was leaning on you. Or it looked like this woman did it. Or it looked like this kid did it. Even if they would have took a guess, read on.
Wisdom of Solomon chapter 9, verse 16. And hardly do we guess aright.
It says, hardly do we what?
And hardly do we guess aright.
So even when we do try to guess at things that are above our understanding and above our knowledge and our perception, a lot of us tend to see and say that, man, we use this quite often. Well, I could tell by the way that brother was talking to me that he meant no good to me. I could tell, yeah.
Or I know by his face that's what he meant. Because that happens a lot too.
Well,
based on your face, I know you mean this is what you meant.
right. He said what?
Wisdom of Solomon 9 and 16. And hardly do we guess aright at things that are upon earth.
And he said, hardly do we guess aright that what?
At things that are upon earth.
What's that saying? Hardly.
Hardly do we guess aright.
It's rare.
Seldom.
But do we act like we know do we act like we have, halfway discernment?
If you let us tell it, we know the ins and outs of why people do every damn thing.
Yes.
And we swear that we're right. We don't even, it says hardly do we guess right. We swear that we be right. I know what you meant when you said that.
We can put something on that.
Yeah, I'll put something on it.
Yeah.
I guarantee that you got a hate bone in your body.
That's a real serious statement.
I could tell that you don't like me by the way you said that you talking to me.
Yeah.
I know your intention. See, I'm familiar with spirits like you.
Yeah.
I've been around spirits like you.
People say all the time.
We swear we be knowing, but we don't know. And there's a reason why we don't know. He says, hardly do we guess what?
And hardly do we guess aright at things that are upon earth.
He said, we hardly guess right that things are upon earth. Read on.
And with labor do we find the things that are before us.
And he's saying that in order to really get some understanding, it's going to take what?
Labor.
It's going to take a lot of labor for you to get the counsel of the Most High. It's going to take a lot of labor to get the understanding of the Most High. Or to know what the will of the Most High is.
Yeah.
Or to learn how to think like the Most High. It takes a lot of labor. But do we put the work in order to understand the way and the mentality and the mind frame of the Most High?
I don't think we do.
Nope.
But we go off our opinion, though.
Our opinion is strong as if
Yeah.
we know the Most High is counselor.
Yep. Yes, sir.
He says my thoughts are higher than your thoughts.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's not our thoughts is not aligned with his thoughts because his thoughts is higher than ours.
I think
His expectations is higher.
I think it's on that point, Mawala, because a lot of times when you're in the heat of the moment, when you're in the heat of the situation, there's a fake clarity that we have.
Yeah.
A fake clarity based off our personal life experiences. It's like you mentioned earlier, I've seen your spirit before. I have trust issues because these particular events I've seen before. So now I'm playing the prophet game. I know what's going to happen next.
I'm psychic.
I've been in these situations. I've been around your type.
Your type.
your
What's the
type.
type?
I've been around your type before.
I've seen that face before. This face right here reminds me of this particular action that you're going to do.
Or brothers been doing this.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like brothers have habitual natures to be negative. Brothers been had it out for me. But people have these predetermined thoughts they walk around with, but they're totally disconnected from the way the Most High thinks. He said we're a nation that's void of understanding. We have our own we have our own way of processing information, but we don't know how to process things the way the Most High processes things. That's why Peter's asking Christ, how can you ask this question? This question don't make sense. But Christ says, for sure, somebody did touch me. He's not asking a silly question or a useless question, or it's not a trick question. He's not being facetious, but he's trying to get them to see something. But the reason why Peter can't see it, nor the other disciples, is because there's something missing. He says, read it again.
Wisdom of Solomon 9 and 16. And hardly do we guess aright at things that are upon earth.
Read.
And with labor do we find the things that are before us.
It says, and with extreme labor, it takes a lot of labor and a lot of hard work to get understanding for the things that are in front of us.
So it's not going to come easy as
No.
we expect.
No, it doesn't come easy. Read on.
God. But the things that are in heaven.
It says, but the things that are spiritual things, the things that are in heaven, read on.
But the things that are in heaven, who has searched out?
Did Peter ask Christ or any other disciples, what did you mean when you say, who touched me? Is there a spiritual reason? Is there a spiritual understanding behind that question? Versus just firing back and answering a question with a question, did he ask, what is the spiritual meaning behind this question? Okay. Did he care to ask?
No.
No. That's why it says, when it comes to the way the Most High sees things, the way that Christ does things also, we don't ask enough questions.
And we almost are, in the story, we're almost Peter. Because we don't care to ask necessarily the spiritual meaning of the situation. It takes maybe 3-4 hours of counsel for us to get to the spiritual meaning of the situation.
Mm-hmm. It does. It takes a lot of intervention
or pain
and failure
and or loss.
Lots of pain, and most guys was trying to show me this the whole time.
Man, he was trying to show me. It was right in front of my face.
He just trying to tell me this.
Yeah, I could have seen this a long time ago. I could have saved myself some trouble. We say that too. Then we got regrets. Man, I wish I wouldn't have done that. I wish I wouldn't have did this. I wish I wouldn't have said this.
If I knew then or knew now.
Yeah.
Something like that.
If I knew then what I know now, yeah. I would have never done it. You know, if I can turn back the hands of time, you know, and go back in time, I would have slapped my younger self.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of things that we say we wish we knew, but the problem is the man doesn't ask enough, doesn't seek enough of way the Most High thinks in order to make sense of what's going on in his life. We just walk around taking guesses about what's happening in our life. We're not accurate. We don't have accurate assessment of what's happening in our life. And it's flawed. It's extremely flawed. Our perception is extremely flawed. Read.
Verse 17. And thy counsel, who have known.
It said nobody knows the Most High's counsel. Yeah. Partially because we don't ask. We don't ask enough of the Most High's way of thinking to intervene in our life. To give us understanding. Or to give us counsel or advice. To give us instruction. We don't ask enough. We don't seek enough. He says, and what? And thy counsel.
And thy counsel, who have known, except thou give wisdom.
Except the Most High give me wisdom. Read.
And send thy Holy Spirit from above.
He says, and the Holy Spirit got to come from where? It got to come from above. So he's explaining that there's something that has to happen in order for you to obtain the Most High's will, to know the Most High's will, to figure out His will, to understand His way of thinking, to interpret what He's doing with you in your life and what's happening in front of you. There's something that has to happen, and it's gotten a certain way. It has to come from above, and you have to get it a certain way. What is the way that the Most High will bestow His counsel, His will upon you, so that you can have His understanding? What has to happen? And it has to come from above. What has to happen?
You be trusted.
Newborn baby.
You gotta be trusted.
Be willing to be taught again.
You gotta be willing to be taught again.
You gotta be humble.
You gotta be humble.
You gotta go through discomfort.
You gotta go through discomfort.
You gotta be willing to sacrifice.
You gotta be willing to sacrifice. All right. So all those questions, all those answers are right. But let's see what he has to say. His counsel is gotten a certain way. It has to be brought to us from above. It has to descend down from above in order to know His will. But it's only gotten a certain way, which is what? Read on.
Verse 18. For so the ways of them which lived on the earth were reformed.
Stop. We must be what?
Reformed.
What does that mean?
Our mind has to be reshaped.
Yes.
Changed.
You have, in order to get the way that the Most High thinks, to get his understanding, to think like him, to understand what he's doing with you, to know his will for you and his will, period. You have to be what?
Reform.
You have to be reformed. What you got, correct?
Definition of reform.
Go ahead.
Con.
Reform, 1828, Webster's Dictionary. Corrected, amended, restored.
It says you got to be corrected, amended, restored. Go ahead.
Corrected, amended, restored to a good state.
It says, first of all, you'll never know the will of the Most High. You'll never understand the counsel of the Most High if you're not restored to a good state. That means you have to become changed into a better state of mind in order for the Most High to even give you his wisdom from above, to give you the way he thinks, to even open up his will so that you can understand his counsel and his way of doing things. That means the Most High is very careful about the distribution of his counsel. He's very careful about the distribution of his will. He doesn't just give it to anybody. He doesn't just give it just because you say, church says come as you are. So I can come as I am, and if I don't make any changes, can I expect to get the discernment, wisdom, understanding, and counsel from the Most High? No, you cannot. There has to be a reformation process. There has to be some changes made. You got to be made whole and be put in a better state in order for the Most High to even be willing to share what he knows. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 19.
Come. 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 19. It says, for the wisdom of this world is foolishness with the Most High.
He said the wisdom of this world is what?
Is foolishness with the Most High.
The way the Most High looks at the wisdom of this world is backwards. The way man does things in this world is backwards. And he said we're a nation that's void of counsel.
Right.
We're a nation that's missing understanding from him. That lacks his will. It's sad. We're a nation that doesn't have understanding. He said, but there's a reason why. He said, because we're too busy utilizing and living life based upon the wisdom that we use, that we come up with, that we got from our experiences or our understanding from the mistakes that we've made and the fault and the failures that we've had in our life. We learned the hard way versus the easy way.
We've been miseducated.
Yep.
By our environment, miseducated by ourselves, and miseducated by our parents. Not to down parents, because parents are the best they can, but they're not the Most High. They're not Christ. So it's not like everything they say can be biblical. It might be practical, but it's not 100% biblical, because they're still getting healed too. So that means that much more have to do some biblical digging and some reformation, like Shawan said.
You know, when I think about it, the things that I hated about my father, and I'm not dissing my father, love my father, and but I duplicated later in life the things that he did in his youth, that I saw him do in his youth, and I became my father without even knowing it until it hit me at a later age. Yeah, but in a sense of influence. But in a sense of influence, you know, my father in the 80s, he bought big old long Cadillacs in the 80s. Fleetwood Brougham, the long skinny edition Cadillacs.
Yeah.
With the 80s models. The Fleetwood Broughams. I remember going to pick one up straight from the dealership in about 1985. We picked one up right from the dealership. Big and long, plush interior.
What color was it?
White with blue velvet interior. He drove big old Cadillacs. It was nice in the 80s. Yeah, son. he used to wear Aramis cologne and Obsession cologne. That was his favorite cologne, Aramis and Obsession for men from Calvin Klein. And he would smoke cool cigarettes, Cool Filter King cigarettes. And he would hang out at night, hit the club at night. And he always be fresh, smelling good, looking good, drove nice cars. And at about 21 years old, when I'm sitting in the Cadillac with a cool cigarette in my mouth, in the parking lot at the club, is when I realized I became my father. And he didn't tell me to do none of those things. But I learned through what? His example. I learned through his example. And that example was wrong. In the sense of, that's not, I'm watching. And I'm learning as I'm watching. He never told me to smoke. He never told me to buy no Cadillac. He never told me to hit the club. He never told me none of these things. But his actions told me all those things. He joined the army after high school. I joined the army after high school. He didn't tell me that. I just subconsciously, without even knowing, did everything that he did. Without even knowing. And then when he got divorced early in his teens, and I was divorced early in my teens. I did everything. He had 2 kids and was divorced. I had 3 kids and was divorced. I did everything he did. Subconsciously. So the example was powerful. But that's what we get from the world. We get strong influences and strong examples from the world that embed themselves in our consciousness that tells us we have to do A, B, C, and D. And we got to live like this and do these things to be happy and have these things in order to feel fulfilled, in order to be fulfilled in life. We do these things based upon what's been impressed and imposed upon us. One thing that Matthew Henry, that I like that he says is, there's nothing that you have in life that you haven't been taught. Everything you know, everything you understand, somebody has given it to you. If you speak English, somebody gave you what? English. If you speak Spanish, somebody gave you what? Spanish. And so everything you know has been given to you or shown to you. So we have become what has been impressed upon us in the examples that has been laid before us. But that wisdom that the Most High has to give us, he's saying that this has to come from above, and you have to be reformed in order to get this wisdom. But he says the wisdom of this world is what?
Foolishness with the Most High.
Read it again.
1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 19. For the wisdom of this world is foolishness with the Most High.
It says the wisdom of this world is foolishness with the Most High. Read on.
For it is written, He taketh the wise in their own craftiness.
So the Most High lets us fail and get tripped up in life because we use what?
Our own craftiness.
Because we use our own wisdom. Your own craftiness is the things that you came up with. So the Most High says, okay, since you don't value my wisdom, you value how you do things. You value how you look at life. You value your decision making. Then I'm going to let your decision making be your snare. I'm going to let your way of doing things be your pitfall. I'm going to let your way of doing things be what trips you up. Because you didn't get what I have to give you. Because in order to get what the Most High has to give us, there has to be some changes made. There has to be some reformation. Job, chapter 11, verse 11. We're in Job chapter 11, verse 11.
Job chapter 11, verse 11. For he knoweth vain men.
It says the Most High, and this is what scares me. When we use our own wisdom and we're using what makes sense to us and we're living by our own counsels, Job says, the book of Job says, verse 11 says what? For he knoweth what?
For he knoweth vain men.
What does vain mean?
Empty.
Worthless.
Worthless, empty, foolish, of no value, men of no value. He says, so the Most High is paying attention. Vain men captures the Most High's attention. He's watching. He's like, man, okay, I'm watching this man. And I'm getting an understanding of how he does things. And he puts things together. And the way this man puts things together makes no damn sense. And it gains the Most High's attention. He says, for he knoweth what?
For he knoweth vain men.
Go ahead.
He seeth wickedness also.
He see what?
He seeth wickedness also.
So the Most High is doing what? He's keeping track of every man. He's keeping track of every woman. See, the Most High is keeping score. The Most High is sitting on above, sitting on high, watching everybody's works, watching everybody's actions, watching everybody's behavior, watching everybody's speech. He's listening to everybody. And he's looking at it, he's tabulating, man, that man is vain. That woman is vain. What that man is doing doesn't make any sense. What that woman is doing is not making any sense. What he's saying doesn't make sense. It's not adding up. That's foolish. That's not my wisdom he's using. He's using his own wisdom. The Most High is on high, keeping score of what everybody's doing. And he said he seeth what?
He seeth wickedness also.
Go ahead.
Will he not then consider it?
So what does he mean when he asks the question, is the Most High, will he not then consider it? What is he asking? What is he saying?
What he's saying is he sees the negative and the foolishness that we do. He's not going to forget it. He's not going to leave it out of his mind. That's going to be there in a sense when bad things happen to us and in the latter end for judgment as well.
Somebody else had their hand up?
I thought it was saying that vain person is seen negative in the world, so they're going to consider doing that negative.
Not so much right here. He's saying right here is that the Most High is watching the vain man, and he's and what he's saying is the Most High is considering. Will he not consider wickedness? Will he not consider the vain man's decisions? So he's acknowledging is that the Most High is paying attention to even men's minds that don't make sense. He's watching. He's considering what they're doing. It'll make more sense when we read on. He says, will he not consider it? Read on.
For vain man would be wise.
He says, for vain man would be what?
Would be wise.
He says, for vain man would be wise. But what's the problem?
Though man be born like a wild ass colt.
So man's behavior keeps him away from what?
Wisdom.
Wisdom. His behavior. Wisdom of Solomon chapter 1 verse 1.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1 and verse 1 reads, love righteousness.
It says what?
Love righteousness.
Go ahead.
Ye that be judges of the earth.
Read on.
Think of the Lord with a good heart.
Think of the Lord with a good heart. Read.
And in simplicity of heart seek him.
Go ahead.
For he will be found of them that tempt him not.
It says, he will be found of those men that tempt him not, that are not double-minded. They're not double-minded. Read.
And sure of himself unto such as do not distrust him.
It says, and the Most High reveals himself to them that do not distrust him. So I can't be wishy-washy, and I can't say, yeah, I believe in the Most High, that sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Then I trust the Most High, but then when it comes to certain decisions, I lean on my own understanding. No, the Most High said, man, I'm not going to be found of that man. Read on.
Verse 3. For forward thoughts separate from the Most High.
So there's a particular mind frame that separates us from the Most High. Read on.
And his power, when it is tried,
reproveth the unwise.
When we put our decisions up to the Most High's decisions, our decisions are always shown and manifested that they're foolish every single time. Read on.
For into a malicious soul.
It says, for into a malicious soul. Read on.
Wisdom shall not enter.
So is the Most High keeping score of man's wickedness?
God.
And so the Most High is checking a man. He's checking a man's disposition. And he's looking at a man and to say, should I give this man my wisdom or not? Should I give this man my counsel or not? Should I give this man my way of doing things or not? Should I show this man my will or not? What is it being based upon? It's being based upon our behavior. And that's the determining factor whether the Most High bestows his way of doing things or his counsel on us. He's checking the wickedness tally. Nah, man, I can't give this man my wisdom. If Christ told us, cast not our pearls before what?
Swine.
Or cast not that which is holy, or give not that which is holy unto what?
Dogs.
To dogs. If Christ said that, what does he mean by that when he says that?
There's some who are where they're receiving it, and some who are not.
Yes, there's a criteria that he's looking at to determine who gets the things that are holy and who doesn't. There's a criteria. The criteria is based upon that person's wickedness. Have you been reformed? Or are you the same old wicked person you was before? Or have you been reformed and changing and restored to another state? Have you been working on yourself? Have you been in the process of being retaught? And if you are, the Most High is willing to bestow his wisdom on us. But if not, if you're not in the process of being reformed and refashioned, the Most High is holding back and withdrawing his wisdom. I'm like, I can't trust this man. I'm not giving it to him. I'm not giving him my will. I'm not letting him in on my secrets. I'm not letting him in on my way of thinking. He's corrupted and polluted in his thought process. He hasn't changed enough yet for me to give it to him. He hasn't done enough yet for me to give it to him. I got to hold, this wisdom is critical.
It's precious.
It's valuable. I'm not just giving it to anybody. That's why it says in verse 4, it says what?
For into a malicious soul wisdom shall not enter, nor dwell in a body that is subject unto sin.
It says, nor dwell in a body that is subject or is put into submission and given themselves unto submission to sin. So if you're still a captive and if you're still a slave to your impulses, then the Most High can't trust you. And neither should you get what he has to offer, which is sacred. So if you haven't made changes and you're still found to where you're still in scenarios where he says, nor dwell in a body that is subject unto sin, you can't even fight your own sins. Why would the Most High give you these pearls, give you this holy information and instruction, and you can't even tell yourself no? You can't even stop yourself from doing that which is evil, but yet you want the Most High's wisdom? It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. In order for the Most High to start giving you his insight, you have to tell yourself and you have to know, man, I got to change and I got to be found worthy of getting the Most High's instruction. That means I can't be the same person that I used to be. I got to make some changes. And if I can make some changes, man, I could really get what the Most High has to offer. Now hold that and go back to Job 11 and 12. And read that one more time.
Job 11 and 12. For a vain man would be wise, though man be born like a wild ass's colt.
He says, for a vain man would be wise, but the problem, man has the propensity, man has the capability of getting the Most High's wisdom. Remember what James 1 and 5 says, right? It says what?
Not all men liberally. Yeah. He's all man liberally?
Yeah.
No, he's all man liberally.
He gives to all men liberally and upbraided not. He said, just can't be double-minded.
Yeah.
The Most High, he says, all men have the capability of being wise. He said, but there's something that fights against their wisdom. He says, they're what?
It says, for vain man would be wise, though man be born.
It says, though man be born like what?
Though man be born like a wild ass's colt.
He says, though man be born like a wild ass's colt. What is he? First of all, what animal is this we talking about?
It's a donkey.
A wild ass's colt?
Yeah. A horse, yeah.
It's a horse. Psalms chapter 32. Verse 8.
Psalms chapter 32, verse 8. Whenever you're ready.
Yep.
Psalms chapter 32, verse 8. I will instruct thee and teach thee.
He said, I will instruct you. The Most High said, I got no problem. I have no problem instructing you. I have no problem teaching you. Read.
I will instruct thee and teach thee in the way which thou shalt go.
He says, if you let me teach you, if you allow me to give you my insight, I'll tell you which way to do things and how to do things, and everything will work for you. The Most High has no problem giving us the right instruction at all whatsoever. Read on.
I will guide thee.
He said what?
I will guide thee.
Go ahead.
With mine eye.
He says, but I'll dictate your path. I'll guide you in the right direction with my eye. Read on.
Be not as the horse.
He said what?
Be ye not as the horse.
What does the Bible say?
Be ye not as the horse.
That's important.
So it's, why are we talking about wild asses colts?
Hard to break.
First of all, wild ass. I believe the colt is the mare. No, it's not the mare. The mare, I think, is a female. It's the young, the baby. Okay. The mare is the male, right? It's the female. Okay, the mare is the female. Stud is the male. That's cut. That's been,
Not good.
Not
good life.
Circumcised, so to speak.
Not
Yeah. Okay. So I'm glad we got some knowledge, some horse knowledge up in here. So he's saying then that don't be like a wild ass's colt. So it says this is what gets us away and separated from what the Most High has to give us. It's our behavior. Our behavior is untrustworthy. And this is why for us in this camp, we don't just give men rank. I don't know what everybody else does in other camps, in other cities, in other states, in other countries. But for us, it's a very extensive process of watching a man over time, watching his behavior over time, watching his attitude over time, his conduct over time, because the Most High is sensitive with his instruction, and he's not just giving it to anybody that just behaves a certain way. He's using a horse as an analogy of somebody that's hard to control, somebody that has the propensity to go left. We're gonna dive into that just for a second. Read that part again.
Psalms 32 and 9. Be ye not as the horse.
He said, don't be like the horse. Don't be like that wild ass's colt. Or don't be like a what?
Or as the mule.
And what is the mule known for? Stubbornness, man. Hard to teach, hard to instruct, hard to guide, hard to lead, hard to direct. It's just a mule. When a mule stops, first of all, a mule is about a good 800 to 1,500 pounds. You're not just, you can kick him. You can pull him. You can pull the rope and pull his neck. And he's not going to do what you want him to do. He's not going to do it. He has his own mind, and when he says he ain't going nowhere, he ain't going nowhere. and he's telling you that people have this mentality. People possess this stubbornness or this uncontrollableness about their whereabouts, about what they do, how they do things. They don't want to be tamed. They don't want to be controlled. They don't want to be told what to do. They don't want to be instructed. They don't want to be led. They don't want to be guided. They don't want to do none of these things. Yes, sir.
Definition for mule, dictionary.com. Definition 3, a very stubborn person.
He says, so, a very stubborn person. So will the Most High bestow his divine instructions and will to a very stubborn person? No, not at all. He's not letting those things that are precious be given to somebody that he can't trust, that's double-minded, that fails the ability to use abstinence. They have no abstinence button. When they're presented with evil, they just open themselves up to evil. They got no stop button. They have no limitations. They don't withdraw themselves or restrain themselves whatsoever from their own personal indulgences. The Most High said, okay, I can't just give you what you want from me with this type of behavior, with this type of conduct. I can't give you what's heavenly. I can't give you what's divine. Read this for me, Daria. Hold that definition, y'all up. It's a good definition. Read this right here. It says the horse. Sorry, it says the horse.
All right. Page 183.
This is Philo, page 183, about the horse.
The horse.
Go ahead.
Who is the emblem?
Philo says the horse is the emblem of what?
Of passion.
He said he is the emblem. He's the symbol of what?
Passion.
So when the Most High say, be not as the horse,
That's great.
he says the horse represents something.
That's great.
The horse,
It's not a random animal he's pulling.
he's not just using, he could have said, be not like the elephant. Or he could have said, be not like the ostrich. Or be not like as the chimpanzee or the orangutan. But he chose the horse for a reason. He said the horse symbolizes what?
The emblem of passion.
Go ahead.
And wickedness. There's two types. Now, that's a funny part. If you look at it like naturally, what would be wicked? Like what would make a horse wicked? Like it's just a horse.
Yeah.
Until you get around them, they have a whole society of competition on. They cannot. Another horse has an issue allowing another horse to get in front of them. They bite each other out. They're dangerous, bro.
They got pride out.
Listen, they don't let other horses. They race to the water. Somebody has to get there first. And they race up the hill. Somebody has to be there first. And then they injure the rider. They injure the rider because they have no consideration for the rider because they don't want somebody else to cross their path. If their agenda of service doesn't matter when it comes to competition. That's the secret life of horses out when you get around them.
Secret life.
Yeah.
That's a reality TV show.
Now y'all know.
It hurt me.
Now y'all got. Go ahead and say that.
The horse got me. He hurt me. He pushed me against a tree. Then he bucked me off. I fell in the mud. He was cool with the kids though. The kid was cool, but with me, he was a different person. But they're not just these innocent, tame animals that want to be ridden out. How they look is one way, but how they are is a different way. They're not always the same. How they look is not what you see. What you see is not what you get.
That's awesome.
With horses.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's part of that wickedness in there.
And they're hard to control.
Yeah.
You know, and he's showing you historically what the horse represents. In history, is always representing an animal that was hard to control. He says they're what?
Emblem of passion and wickedness.
Meaning a horse can be aroused and stimulated even by man.
Oh, yeah.
They have a vigorous sex drive.
Yes. Yeah.
They're known for that.
Yeah, that's true.
Read.
Because temperance is occupied about the overthrow and destruction of these things.
It says the only thing that can subdue the passion and wickedness of a horse, which he's talking about to not be as the horse, as an analogy of how man is, the only thing to control the wickedness and the passion of a man is what?
Temperance.
It's temperance. Temperance is what? First of all, it's a virtue. First of all, temperance is a virtue. But by definition, what is temperance? Everybody should know it.
What's moderation?
One definition is moderation.
Like calmness under pressure. Or something.
Calmness under pressure, to stay cool under pressure, to not panic and get anxiety under pressure. But what else is the definition of temperance?
Temperance. It says patience, calmness,
Patience, calmness.
sedateness, moderation of passion.
It says moderation of passion, and another definition is self-control or self-restraint
Natural appetites.
of natural appetites. So you can restrain yourself. See, a horse can't restrain himself. That's why when you open up a fence, a horse does what?
He's finna go.
He gone. You open that. As soon as that horse see an open fence, he's out of there. Can't restrain himself. Or you get too close to a horse, you put him in a pen or in a stable too tight, they'll kick you. Or they'll bite you.
Yeah, when they bite, it bites you.
They got all muscle, man. Jaws is full of muscle. Well, they kick you and knock you out. Break bones, kill people. So it's showing you that the horse represents what? Yahweh?
It says the horse represents
The definition of temperance.
temperance. It says temperance, patience, calmness, sedatedness, moderation of passion.
Moderation of passion. That means you have to put your impulses under control. See, the Most High is not giving His wisdom to anybody that cannot control themselves. If you're easily overthrown with anger, the Most High is not messing with you.
Yeah.
If you are compulsive and weak to your vices, the Most High is not messing with you. If you can't restrain yourself in conversation, and you have to tell people how you feel, and you just got to let people know, and you don't have a moderate button, a moderation button, a filter, the Most High cannot mess with you with His wisdom. He just can't give it to you, because you're liable to abuse the power and the wisdom that He has to give you in the wrong way. We'll make the Most High look foolish for Him giving us His wisdom, and then us using His wisdom for our satisfaction upon our vices and upon our pleasure. He says, so the only thing to offset that passion and that wickedness is temperance. What else you got?
Accordingly.
No. I want you to read this right here. For the indulgences.
For the indulgences of intemperance.
Intemperance is the opposite of temperance.
So it's temperance, intemperance.
Yes. To be without temperance.
Without control. Without control.
Without self-restraint. He says,
for the indulgences of intemperance and gluttony.
So when you don't have temperance, you become a what?
A glutton.
You become a glutton. What's a glutton?
Keep consuming.
Never say shit.
But let's get the definition.
Glutton, 1828, what's the dictionary? It says, one, eager of anything to excess.
It says, one that is eager to anything, but in what?
To excess.
So I'm excessive in what I want.
Yeah.
I just got to have what I want. It doesn't necessarily have to be food. It's just that I want my way.
At all costs.
Oh, I want what I want. We think glutton to be associated with food. It's not just food. It's that I don't let nobody stop me. I don't like nobody telling me no from what I want.
Yeah.
I gotta get what I want at all costs. That's a glutton. And it's to excess. And I'm gonna overindulge in pleasure. I don't know. I don't have a stop button. I don't have a medium button. If I drink, I'm gonna drink until I completely
blackout,
consumed and blacking out. Because I don't have a stop button.
Yeah.
If I'm hanging out, I'm just gonna hang out all night. I don't know how to call it quits. I'm just gonna be out all night. I'm gonna be chilling till about 5, 6 till the sun come up. I can't say no. I can't say, hey man, it's about that time.
Shut it down.
It's closing time. You don't know how to do that. What else? He says, but if I lack temperance, then I become a glutton. What else?
And whatever other vices are moderate. And
it says, and whatever other vices, the what?
The immoderate. And
meaning those that lack moderation and
insatiable pleasures, was completely filled with an abundance of all external things.
He says, so I'm a slave to what? To
I give abundance.
To abundance, but also to my pleasure. So if I don't, this is the estate that the Most High is watching us live in on earth. That's why he says he's considering. Will he not consider? Well, the Most High, is he not watching vain men? Is he not paying attention to men that just want what they want at all costs? That gotta have things their way? That have no control, no self-control, no self-restraint? They have no ability to tell themselves no to a vice. They're strong, they're giving into vices. I just got it, man. You can't put it around me. It's your fault that you got me to drink. Don't blame me because I drank a whole bottle of liquor. It's your fault because you put it in front of my face. It's really my fault that I put the drink in your face? Because what? I don't have any what? I don't have no restraint. He says, these are horses. Yes, sir.
This thing is interesting because horses need restraint. Literally.
Yeah.
They need a, what is it, bridle, right?
Yep. They need a bit in their mouth.
Yeah, they need a bit.
They do. They need restraint. These are horses. They lack restraint. They lack self-control. What else?
It says, when completely filled with the abundance of an external thing, produce and bring forth, do not allow the soul to proceed onwards.
It says they do through their passion, through a man's indulgence, through a man's pleasure to satisfy his flesh. He says he restricts his ability for his soul to do what?
To proceed onwards.
So what does he do to a soul? What does it say? He stopped his development. He stopped his forward momentum. Meaning, if you don't utilize or inherit temperance somewhere within your composition, somewhere within your mind, your soul will suffer because you can't stop yourself. Your soul is the one that's at stake, that's being violated through your inability to tell yourself no. Because you just got to do it. You just got to do it. You just got to have it. And you can't listen to nobody. You can't tell, nobody can tell you, hey, bro, slow down, bro. Man, who you talking to, man? I've been doing this since the 80s, man. I've been drinking before you was even born. Who you think you talking to? Yeah, nobody can tell you nothing, man. Hey, brother, you tripping, you swerving, bro. You shouldn't drive. Nah, bro, give me my keys. It's my car. You didn't pay for it. I paid for it. Damn, brother, you're not driving right,
That
bro.
means it's safe.
But how many times do we hear this?
All the time.
You can't tell nobody nothing. You can't tell man nothing, man. You can't tell man nothing without him thinking that he already understands, or that he already knows something, or that he's already been there and done that, and you're imposing upon his freedom, or his pleasure, or his joy. You robbing him of his joy. You can't tell man nothing. He says, but what he doesn't realize is the things that he's given to and his behavior that mimics the horse, he's actually suppressing his own soul. And it's damaging, and it kind of sucks, to be honest, when you watch a man compromise his soul for some pleasure and destroy himself for some pleasure. It really sucks, because what's inside of that man is a good man who has the ability to be wise, who has the ability to make good decisions, but he causes himself to suffer from his lack of self-control. And it's a damn shame, and it's a pity. That's why Moses was saying, that this nation is they're void of understanding. They're void of the counsel of the Most High. Only that they would be wise and get some. That's why he was pleading, and he was moaning for the fact that, man, I only wish Israel could get some understanding, because every one of us have the ability, and we watch good men fail. We watch good sisters fail because they can't control themselves. And it's really a sad thing to watch a man or woman that has a great nature in them go down the drain It's really damn unfortunate, and it's really sad because they can't tell themselves no. They can't restrain themselves. They can't say, man, you know what? That's enough fun for me. I'm cool. I went out with the brothers. I had a good time. We had 1 or 2 drinks. We had fun. We're just gonna call it a night. We're gonna stop right there. DJ say, hey man, last call, last call. You hit your dance, hit the last song, last call. You hit the dance floor, whatever. Yes, sir.
You know they play slow music.
Yeah, they purposely slow the music down to wind you down so you can start getting in your mind. It's time to go. Then they just play an off-brand song. They play a rock song in a hip hop club.
Man, it's time to go.
It's time to go. They let you know. Yeah. Yeah, they let you know, hey, it's time to go. It's time to get out of here, man. They changed the music up. You was in a full-blown sweat. And you was like, man, they just changed the music up on me. It's whack. But then you see people with that damn closing time song, and they still trying to dance. Like, damn, man. Yeah, you ain't get the message? It's time to go, man. Or you leave one spot and say, hey, man, we're going to go check this other spot out over here. Like, bro, we're going to check this other spot out. They keep going. Yeah, they keep going. It's over till 4. 5. Yeah, and you never realize that by every stupid decision to continue in that foolishness and your lust, that you're exposing yourself to more and more danger. Yes, sir.
Man, I remember one time I was in New York City. We went to a spot in Manhattan that was called Pacha. And we would be there till 5 in the morning. And then there was some people that we rode with, and they was like, hey, this is the other spot, man. You should come with us. We went to the spot. No, it was 2 in the morning. I'm sorry. 2 in the morning we left. We went to the spot, got there like 3 in the morning. All right. We were still partying. It was 12 in the afternoon now. But they had these black curtains.
Yep.
So it made it seem like it was nighttime.
Yeah.
We in there all night acting. And then we step outside, but the sun was beaming. Like,
Yeah. You step outside like a vampire, right? Yeah. Like the sun just burnt your skin and burnt your eyeballs because and that's also it. That's why in Vegas they do that too. Yeah. There's no windows in those casinos where they gambling at. They purposely don't put windows in a gambling casino.
It's dark all the time.
Because you will be in there all night, and they don't put clocks on the wall either. They don't need because they want you to be fully indulged in your pleasure, engulfed in being distracted and being given to these machines that just taking your money. And they want you to be, and they give you free drinks at the casino. Yep. They keep it going. Free, it's on the house. They're pumping you with influence. They're weakening your inhibitions. They're strengthening your stubbornness. You won't want to leave. Then the food is cheap. Casino food be like $2 for the burger and the fries. Be cheap. It's like, man, I ain't gotta leave.
I ain't gonna live here.
I ain't gotta leave.
I actually had somebody tell me that, man. They ain't want to leave.
Yeah, you don't want to leave.
No, it's real.
You know why? Because there will always be a business for indulgence. Because people don't know how to say no. So therefore, the Arabs will always make money.
Yep.
The Koreans will always make money.
Yeah, I gonna make their money.
Ishmael gonna make their money. Moab gonna make their money. All these other nations gonna make their money. Esau gonna make their money off of us because we don't know how to say no. We don't know when to stop. And that's why the Most High is like, man, I can't give these men my wisdom. They don't have no restraint. They're too much like the horse. They're too much like the mule. But those are attributes of people, not just animals. Those are attributes. Those are the emblem. They represent something. They represent a disposition. They represent a mind frame. He says they do what to the soul?
Says do not allow the soul to proceed onwards by the plain and straight road.
It says temperance will put you on a straight path. Intemperance will take you off the straight path. Temperance will put you on a plain road. He said, but immoderation will take you off the plain road. Then this is why people always end up in the hospital, or they always end up in jail, and they wake up when they come to and they say, how did I get here?
Yeah.
How did I even get here? Like, first of all, you're like trying to figure out, what is this? Where am I? Where am I at?
What happened?
What happened? I'm in a gown. I'm in a gown. Okay, I must be in a hospital then. I'm in a gown. I must be in a hospital. I got an IV on my arm. I'm hooked up. Okay, so now I need some answers. I want some answers. I'm looking for some answers. Like, where's my cell phone?
Yeah.
Where's my phone? Then they try to call around. Hey, was I with you last night? I hate this story, but a friend of mine back in the world, before I came to the truth, we're out hanging out. He was an ex-Marine. He liked to fight. Like, he liked to drink a couple drinks. He liked to get violent. So we're already coming home, and I'm in the passenger seat, and he's like, somebody pull up at the light next to us, and he start cussing him out. I said, man, listen, bro, cut it out, bro. We done. Like, you trying to argue with, you don't even know these people, man. He's like, I'm a Marine. Like, you can't tell me nothing. I'm a Marine. So he follows the guy. I said, man, let's go home. Let's get out of here, bro. It's already 2 o'clock in the morning. Let's go. Let's go home. Drop me off, man. He's like, no, I'm a Marine. They looking too much. Like, so he follows the guys in the car to the Dunkin' Donut. First of all, who's at Dunkin' Donuts? Police officer. So he jumps out, immediately starts fighting the guy that jumps out the passenger seat. So I have to make a decision. Do I help him, or do I let him learn his lesson? So I say, you know what? I'm not gonna leave him. I'm not gonna leave him hanging. So I get out the car, come around, and somebody snuck me from behind.
Oh,
Bow. So I'm snuck from behind. Now we all brawling, but he gets the worst of the whole deal. He gets concussions. He gets kicked by some dude with some steel-toe boots.
Oh.
And his eyes are closed. He's got tumors in his head. And they police show up. They're probably on the way to Dunkin' Donuts anyway. They show up and they take pictures of him. And he said, I want to press charges. Now he want to press charges. Then I take him home. I wash him up, wash his face. You know, I give him some Tylenol, put some stuff on his cream on his eyes, try to keep his eyes open. And he doesn't remember nothing. And then in the morning, all I hear is, "Oh, what happened to me?" You know what I'm saying? And he looks at me. He look in the mirror. He look at me. I ain't got nothing on me. He's like, "What happened to me?" I said, "Man, I tried to tell you to stop. You ran into some guys. You didn't want to stop, and they got you. They put a whooping on you. You didn't help me." I said, "Man, I was fighting the biggest guy. The little dude beat you up." And we no longer were friends after that night because he thought that I set him up or I didn't help him, or because his eyes were closed and he had lumps all over his head. He thought I was there for him, and he didn't remember. But when somebody doesn't have they don't have a filter, they don't have a button, they don't have a stop button, you can't tell them nothing. They don't have a moderation. They just want to keep going and keep going, and like, damn brother, how much of your flesh do you want to feed? How much pleasure is there? You can only get so intoxicated.
Yeah.
It's not even what people like to do is beyond a good time. It's overindulgent because it's something that they don't lack. It's a virtue called temperance. It's a virtue that every man and woman should have. If not, then you possess the attribute of that horse or that mule, and you destroy your soul in the process. So he says that they do what?
But it says, do not allow the soul to proceed onwards by the plain and straight road, but compel it to fall.
It says they compel the soul to what?
To fall.
How do men compel their soul to fall? They don't know when to stop. They don't know how to tell themselves no. Men destroy their own souls. And that's exactly what Satan wants. Satan wants you to be, he knows that all he has to do is plant the seed and blow a spark, and our passion will turn it into a fire. All Satan has to do is present evil to you. Your passion will do the rest. All he has to do is put it in front of you. Your indulgence in immoderation will take it further and steer you. You steer your own self off the track. That's what man does. Man steers himself off the road that the Most High put him on. Your own flesh will do the rest. All you have to do, all Satan's job has got to do is present it to you. Here, try this. Take this. That's why the scriptures say, touch not, taste not, handle not. For we all perish with what? With the using. He says that's why the Bible says don't taste it, don't touch it, or don't handle it. Because that's all that Satan has to do is present it to you. And your flesh will do the rest. You will undermine your own spirit because you just can't tell yourself, nah, I'm good. I'm in a good space. I'm in a good place with the Most High. I'm at a good point in my life. I'm content at my life. I don't need those things to have a good time. I don't need these things to perceive that this is joy. I don't get joy from this. This is not my joy. But when you don't have temperance, which is a virtue, you can't get what the Most High has to give you because you're too subject, too weak to your own flesh. Read on.
It says, to compel it to fall into ravines and gulfs.
A ravine is a ditch. That's a ravine. Men steer their soul right into a ditch, and they corrupt themselves because they can't tell themselves no. Stop. That's enough. I'm good, man. I've lived that life, or I've done those things. I already know that there's no joy in the end of that. Yep. There's no joy in that. There's no joy in this, man. I'm setting myself up for the ultimate fall. My soul is going to fail. And that's something you can't get back once it's gone. Read.
It says, until they utterly destroy it.
It says they fall into a ditch, into a gulf, until they what?
Until they utterly destroy it.
Read on.
But those practices,
go ahead,
which adhere to patience.
It says, but if you only understood the value of what?
Patience.
That's a virtue. Temperance is a virtue. Patience is a virtue. These things, these virtues, help subdue and control your flesh from destroying your soul. These are the things that prevent you from self-destruction. So if you never learn patience, if you never learn temperance, you are going to destroy yourself. You have to have these virtues to live. You have to have these virtues to survive. You have to have these virtues for the Most High to even be willing to bestow His wisdom on you. Otherwise, the Most High say, man, my Holy Spirit is not going to dwell with the spirit that's subject unto sin. I am not giving my Holy Spirit to that individual. I'm not bestowing from on high and let this wisdom and this counsel fall into this man's mind who can't control his damn self. Read.
It says, adhere to patience and endurance and moderation.
It says patience, endurance, moderation, and temperance. What does that sound like? Sound like self-control. It all comes down to self-control. You can't get the Most High's wisdom when you don't have no self-control. He doesn't want to give it to you because he can't trust you. Because you're liable to defect and backslide and go and become impulsive and dive right into your flesh. The Most High don't be trusting us, man. And he knows that we're weak. We're weak to the flesh. And that's why Moses is begging us to get the Most High's wisdom. He said, man, if you only knew what would happen in the end, what would be in the end of your life, only if you knew what was that you compromised your soul for the sake of pleasure. That's why Moses was begging that. Read that one more time. 32, Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 9. Read it one more time. 29. 32, verse 29.
Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 29. It says, "Oh, that they were wise, that they understood this, that they..."
He's begging, man. When he says, "Oh, that they were wise," he said, "Man, I'm telling you, I wish that they were wise. I wish that they weren't vain men. I wish that they only understood that the Most High is watching everything that they're doing." He's begging, man. He's pleading. He said, "Oh, that what?
That they were wise, that they understood this, that they would consider."
He said that they would consider what?
Their latter end.
He said, "Man, only if you knew what following the flesh would get you, I only wish that you would stop and get wisdom." Moses is pleading with our people to get wisdom. He's begging, bro. He said, because what people don't understand is you forfeit your soul for the sake of a good time. That's stupid. You suppress your soul for a good time, you are out of your mind. Do you not know what the Most High got set up for those that have lived a life of sin and the eternal damnation that's coming with it? You setting yourself up for hellfire, unlimited and unstopped and immeasurable. But we don't understand. That's why Moses said, "Man, if y'all only understood what's at the end of that path, please stop now. Please restrain yourself now." Read.
And all other virtues.
He says, "And all other virtues on temperance, patience, moderation, endurance." What else?
Keep the soul in the
and another definition of endurance as a virtue would be fortitude. That would be, instead of saying endurance, you can say fortitude. Which fortitude is very much like courage. Courage and fortitude almost have the same definition. Being able to be confident in the face of adversity. But courage is more like you showed courage or no fear and you pushed past pain and trouble of mind or body one time. Fortitude is you push past pain in the body or mind all the time. So fortitude is more of a long-standing form of courage, but very close in definition. But they're both virtues.
One
Yes.
is long term and one is short term.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
Definition of fortitude.
Yeah, you can read it.
Definition of fortitude. This on that point.
You're going over virtue. It says, "Fortitude is the guard and support of the other virtues."
It says, man, fortitude is the guard and the support of the other virtues. That means fortitude is very principal in protecting the other virtues. Yeah. Man, it said it's the guard or support of them. That means that, man, if you lose fortitude, you're vulnerable. The other virtues are vulnerable. Read. Yeah, that's perfect. Right. What you got? So endurance, moderation, patience.
And
What
all
else?
other virtues.
Go ahead.
Keep the soul.
They do what?
Keep the soul.
What keeps your soul? Virtues keep your soul. Any man that doesn't value virtues is liable to lose his soul and forfeit his soul at any time. And you're setting your soul up for destruction on top of the fact that the Most High ain't messing with you. The Most High is not giving you anything. He's not dropping no wisdom on you. He's not dropping no counsels on you. He's not dropping no discernment on you. He's not dropping his will. He's not giving you his will. That would be a waste. The Most High is not pouring his wisdom into an empty vessel or a vessel that got holes in it. Read.
In the straight road.
It said it keeps the soul in the what?
In the straight road.
So a horse will liable to get off the road because he's too passionate about going his direction, doing things his way. What else?
Leaving no stumbling block in the way.
It says leaving what?
No stumbling block in the way.
If you use virtue, You eliminate the what?
Stumbling block.
You eliminate your stumbling blocks in your life. You gotta write that down, man. You gotta write that down. If you use virtues, you eliminate your stumbling blocks in your life. The things that's gonna get you off the right path.
Yeah, of course.
That's important, man. Because people don't put value on patience. They don't put value on fortitude. They don't put value on self-restraint. Telling themselves, no, stop, that's enough. I've had enough. I've done enough. This is no longer fun to me. I get no joy out of this. Out of pleasure. Pleasing the flesh. Read, finish that.
It says, leaving no stumbling block in the way against which it can stumble and fall.
So if I use virtue, then I give no opportunity to stumble. My soul can stay on the right path as long as I'm practicing and learning virtues. Somebody had a question here. It says, how do you begin to become temperate or to obtain self-control? So, yeah, you want to answer it?
Yeah, I think the beginning is forcing yourself to submit. It's a will thing too, because a lot of people have this idea: I want to intellectually agree or disagree with someone. You want to use the intellect. You gotta get past your intellect. It's not about the intellect sometimes. It's about, are you going to submit or not? Will you or won't you? Israel wants to do this long conversation, and that way they find a point to disagree with. And then they find a point to disagree with, now they have permission to not submit. So sometimes it's not about a long speech or a long ideal. Listen, if this is what I was told, this is what I was taught. I was taught this. Do I tell you?
Yeah.
Because I'm that way. I'm like, listen, man, for what? The brother said, do what I tell you to do. What am I going to do? Argue with that? And once I did it, then the Most High showed me understanding. We're too busy sometimes over-intellectualizing our instructions. We're the ones that are the fools.
Make that even more simple. You said over-intellectualizing. Say that in a more plain way.
Okay. What we do, we're too cerebral. We overthink. We overanalyze. Paralysis by analysis. We over-meditate. We want to taste every single word and say, that I'm thinking that makes sense. That doesn't make sense. We want to inject our opinion in somebody else's counsel. And therefore, when you hear somebody else's counsel that they're giving to you, and you inject your opinion, now you say, well, that counsel's two points off, 8 points correct. I don't want to do it. People naturally look for flaw. People are naturally hypercritical. So your natural hypercritical nature will stop you from submitting to a counsel, and you'll never get the wisdom. We look to disagree. You know that, right? If you don't follow counsel, you don't follow instructions, it's because you look to not follow instructions. That's your natural nature. So to beat your nature, force yourself to submit and ask questions last.
Do what you're told.
Do what you're told, bro. People overthinking it like a child. A child, you tell a child, don't put your hand in the socket. Why? Listen, bro, just don't do it. Do not put your hand in that socket. I'm telling you.
That's not enough. What's going to happen if I do?
What's going to happen if I do? That's how we all burn our hand as kids. Mama said, get out the kitchen. Don't touch the stove. Okay, you're going to find out. Well, why? And that's it. That's all of us in life. People can tell us all the details if you want. At some point, we have to obey. That's why I want to pull this one scripture.
Yeah.
All right, real quick. Job 36 and verse 11 and 12. Job 36, verse 11 and 12. What's the point I wanted to get to?
Job 36, 11 and verse 11.
Uh-huh.
If they obey and serve him.
Obey means to submit. Submit means to obey. Serve means to execute the information. If I submit myself and execute the counsel or the instruction, read.
If they obey and serve him,
what's going to happen?
They shall spend their days in prosperity.
If I submit and commit myself to those vital principles that I was taught, endurance, fortitude, courage, submission, read.
and their years in pleasure.
You get pleasure, spiritual pleasure, and you get years of prosperity if you obey. Right? If you listen, if you hearken. But read verse 12.
But if they obey not,
If I want to overthink the counsels, if I want to overanalyze the counsel and not give myself to following the instruction point for point, if I want to sit here and pontificate or overthink or overanalyze, read.
they shall perish by the sword.
If I don't obey, the scripture says I'm going to perish by the sword and what?
By the sword. And they shall die without knowledge.
The class is called Obtaining Discernment Made Easy. But if I can't just make myself submit and decide I'm going to submit for Christ's sake, then the scripture says I'm going to do what?
Obey.
I'm going to die without knowledge. Read the last part again.
Con. But if they obey not,
If I don't obey, read.
they shall perish by the sword.
They shall perish by the sword. There's different kinds of swords. There's swords of losing your job. There's swords of car accidents. There's swords of evil people. There's swords of stalkers. There's swords of stray bullets. There's swords of you eat bad food and the food takes you out because you won't listen to counsel about the food. So the food becomes a sword. And what happens in the end?
And they shall die without knowledge.
The Most High was trying to give the knowledge, but you have to obey first.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, and hopefully, sis, that answers your question when you says, how do you begin to become temperate or to obtain self-control? Because those are keys to sustaining your soul, for soul surviving. If you don't learn temperance, self-control, moderation, discipline, your soul is about to set sail to hell.
That's not a good place.
It's not. It is, huh? But it's not.
Crazy,
but that's where it's going, because it's going to naturally go off path. So, back to Job chapter 11, verse 12. Who had it? Marwola, you had it?
11 and 12.
Job chapter 11, verse 12.
Come, I got it.
Yep.
Job chapter 11 and verse 12 reads, "For vain men will be wise."
He says there is a chance that a vain man, a useless man, can be wise. There is an opportunity for everybody. He said a vain man can be wise. Read.
Though man be born like a wild ass colt.
But he says, when he says they're born like, that means it's in their nature. It's in a man's nature to be wild. It's in a man's nature to be rebellious. It's in a man's nature to be stubborn. It's in a man's nature to be hard-headed, to not want to listen. So, if I want to get the Most High's wisdom, and I want him to count me credible to obtain his counsel and his understanding his will, and qualify me for that, read on.
Verse 13. If thou prepare thine heart.
That means I have to fixate my mind. I have to prepare my mind on what the Most High wants for me, and that has to be more important than what I want for myself. If I'm going to get the Most High's wisdom, I gotta look at what He has to offer me as more valuable than what I tell myself is valuable. He says, "Prepare thine heart." In what way? Read.
And stretch out thine hands towards Him.
So if I want the Most High's wisdom, I got to fix my mind. This is what I want. This is what I'm here for. This is why I'm in this truth. This is why I read the Bible. This is why I follow the commandments. This is why I do what I'm told. You got to fix your mind on that. You got to know what you're doing and why you do it. He says, then you got to stretch out your what?
Hand.
What does that mean? What gesture is that when you stretch your hands out to the Most High?
You asking for help?
You're asking for help. You're praying. You're praying. You're asking for help. You're humbling yourself. You're putting yourself in a position to receive something. Not give something, but to receive. You're asking to receive. So the posture is a humbling posture. You're putting your hands out saying, I need something from you. I'm waiting on the Most High. Read.
Good. Stretch out thine hands towards it.
What else?
If iniquity be in thine hand.
It says, and if you got some negative in your hand, because some people carry negative in their hand. The hands are instruments that bring negativity to you. So if evil or if wickedness be found in your hand, do what?
put it far away.
So what is the process of obtaining what the Most High has to give you? You got to fixate your mind.
Mm-hmm.
You got to stretch out your hands to the Most High. Put your hands in a form of receiving. That means I got to humble myself down and plead with the Most High for what He has to give me. And then if I got dirt in my hand, He said I got to do what?
Put it far away.
So is the Most High going to give you what He has to offer you when you still got dirt in your hand? No, He's not. Something has to be given up. Something has to be forfeited. Something has to change. Something has to be lost. What has to be lost is your pleasure that always trips you up. Doing things that make your flesh happy, not the spirit. You got to stop feeding your flesh. What else?
It says, and let not wickedness dwell in thy tabernacle.
It says, and let not wickedness dwell in thy what?
Tabernacle.
And what's they talking about? Because some people think wickedness is like a evil picture or like, like the devil. Like, what do you mean wickedness in the tabernacle?
Well, it's what I attach myself to.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. Go to 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and read verse 15.
1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 15 says, if any man's work shall be burned.
Hold on one second. Let me get this real quick. Verse 16.
1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 16. Know ye not that ye are the temple of the Most High, and that the Spirit of the Most High dwelleth in you? If any man defile the temple of the Most High.
So there's many things that can defile my temple. There's a multitude of things that can defile my temple. When we read the law, what does the law say that defiles my temple?
Bad foods.
Unlawful foods.
Unlawful foods, right.
Unlawful foods, such as what?
Pork, shrimp, crawfish, catfish, crab legs.
So there's a whole diet that the Most High says thou shalt not eat. These are unclean to you. There's a list of things that says these are clean to you. These you can eat. These leave alone. These you're okay. There's a way of living. There's things that you do to your body, such as tattoos, scars, damaging yourself, damaging your flesh, branding yourself, printing marks upon your body. There's things that we like to do to the body because we say that this is my body and I do what I want to do. I do what I want. This is my body. No, that is not your body. The body is on a lease. It's like a rental. You got to turn it back in. And you have to turn it back in to the same condition you was giving it to you in. It was unblemished when you got it. It shouldn't be scarred up and blemished up and tatted up when you give it back. So the Most High is expecting us to hold it in high regard and have some respect for it. So there's things that defile the body, defile the temple. I can't be homosexual according to the Bible. Man can't lie with mankind like women, and women can't lie with womankind like she lied with the man. So there's a conduct that I have to behave myself with that defiles me. I can't steal. I can't kill. There's things I cannot do. There's I cannot do. There's do's and don'ts. So if I defile my temple, then if I'm doing anything, if I'm excessive, even if I drink, but I'm excessive in my drinking, I'm defiling my temple. If I'm overindulgent, if I'm insatiable, cannot be satisfied, if I'm compulsive, then I'm damaging my flesh. It's abuse. What else?
It says, if any man defile the temple of the Most High, him shall the Most High destroy. For the temple of the Most High is holy.
Is what?
Is holy.
So I cannot defile my what?
Temple.
So a lot of times we classify wickedness. Wickedness comes in different fashion. But it's all doing what? Defiling your temple. Whatever defiles your temple You got to put it away from you. And if you're in class long enough, we go through different classes and different topics that explain what you can and cannot do, regardless of what this society tells you that you can do. Regardless of this society tells you is lawful. So let that go and go back to Job chapter 11 and read that verse 14.
Con. Job chapter 11 and verse 14 reads, If iniquity be in thine hand, put it far away, and let not wickedness dwell in thy tabernacle.
Your tabernacle is your what? It's your body. It's the temple. Yes, sis.
I was also going to ask, after a while you're in the body, you know not to do those things, can your mind frame, like it says in John, where it talks about, is that which comes out of the mind, and in your thinking process. If I'm contrary and I'm rebellious against the Heavenly Father and I don't want to fight it, that's also another sense of it. It's safe to say that's another way of defining the temple.
Yes, absolutely. If you didn't hear in the class what the sister added to what could possibly defile your spirit, she said what's in Mark chapter 7, verse get Mark chapter 7 verse 21. Verse 20. Start at verse 20. Is what the sister was explaining. In addition to those things that defile your body that we read in the Torah, you know, there's other things that could defile your body or defile your temple as well. And one in particular that she addressed is very important. Read this right here.
Mark 7 and 20. And he said, that which cometh out of the man, that defileth the man.
It says it's what comes out of you that defiles you. He's going to get specific. Read on.
From within, out of the heart of men.
Out of the mind of men. Read on.
Proceed evil thoughts.
So what else defiles a man?
Evil thoughts.
When you just meditate on what?
Evil thoughts.
So it may not be that you slap pork in your mouth. Or you guzzle the whole liquor bottle. But it could be that you're thinking evil. Walking around, contemplating, holding on to, meditating upon, and harboring evil thoughts will also defile you, because it's only a matter of time before you act upon those things that you think about. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So it's only a matter of time before you act upon these things. But murder, like the scriptures we read before in certain classes way back, there's a thing such as heart murder. Heart murder is when you meditated, it's premeditated. You've already thought about hating somebody. And hate is the precursor to murder.
Yep.
Before somebody murders somebody, they hate the person. So hate is a precursor to murder. So you've already had a disgust of someone before you acted upon the disgust. That's how people do. So, in addition to what the sister's saying, we're just showing how this is true. What the scripture's saying is true. Read.
Con. It says,
from within, out of the heart of men.
For from within, out of the heart of men, proceed evil thoughts.
What else?
Adultery.
So you don't just commit adultery because you stumble upon adultery. You think about it. You meditate on it. It's not like oops. Oops thing. Oops. No oops. It was meditated upon. What else?
Fornication.
Pornography. It wasn't just like, man, I bought the White Chicks DVD and these other chick with Marlon Wayans and brothers or Wayans brothers, and these other white chicks showed up on the screen. Where'd you get that DVD from? You got it from an after-hour store. It's thought upon. It's meditated upon.
That wasn't that red box.
That wasn't that red box, man. Like, oops, this came out. No, man. You thought about these things. Read on.
Murder.
What else?
Theft.
You think about stealing before. You don't steal by accident. It fell in my pocket. That's you think about stealing. You look around. You scope. You case the joint. You make sure ain't nobody on you. You get out the view of the camera. It's already thought upon, based on what the sister's saying. That's all we're bringing out. So let that. Yes, sir.
The tongue also says is a word of sin. Actually, that probably defiles the body more than anything.
Yeah.
That's what's coming out your mouth.
Yeah, but what comes out the heart proceeded from the mind. Things that proceed out the heart come from the mind. So it still has a source. The source is still the mind.
Yeah.
And your tongue just speaks the things that come out the heart, that come out the mind. So it just shows you your tongue is just the instrument that tells people what's on your mind.
Exactly.
And if what you're saying is evil, it's because what you're thinking is evil. So, based on what the sister said, now go back to Job chapter 11, verse 14 one more time.
Come. Job chapter 11 and verse 14 reads, if iniquity be in thine hand.
And so if you wanna get right with the Most High and get what He has to offer, His wisdom, you got to prepare your mind. He said you got to stretch out thine hands towards Him. That means you got to be reaching for the Most High. Nothing else in your life is more important. The Most High is the focus. He says, stretch forth thine hand towards Him. If iniquity be found in thy hand, if you got dirt that you do or things you think that's wrong, He says, do what?
Put it far away.
So cut off the negative. This is what qualifies you to get the Most High, His wisdom and what He has to offer you, His counsel. Read on.
And let not wickedness dwell in thy tabernacle.
He said, and let not wickedness dwell in thy tabernacle. Whatever is defiling you, do away with it. Don't let nothing defile your temple. What else?
15. For then shalt thou lift up thy face without spot.
Then you can present yourself to the Most High without what?
Spot.
So what is the Most High waiting for in order to give you His wisdom?
Blameless and
To
spotless.
be spotless.
Yes, you got to remove your spots. When you start working on removing your spots, the things that are defects in you, things that weaken you, when you work on your defects, your weaknesses, your impulsiveness, your lack of self-control, your immoderation, when you work on these things and you start cleaning up them spots, then the Most High can deal with you. Then He can work with you. Then the Most High can start sprinkling His wisdom on you. Yep, I'm going to hook him up today. He's going to get some good understanding today. He's going to get some good wisdom today. I'm going to sprinkle some good information to him. I'm going to give him some good instruction today. I'm going to give him a blessing. He don't even know it. I'm going to bless him today. The Most High start passing out the good things that come from heaven. Those divine things that the scripture says, who knoweth the things of heaven? Man sure as hell don't know it.
Yeah.
Why? Go to 1 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 2.
First Corinthians chapter 8 and verse 2. And if any man think that he knoweth anything.
It said, if any man think that he know anything. Read on.
He knoweth nothing.
He knoweth what?
He knoweth nothing.
Man sure as hell don't know what?
Nothing.
Yeah, man, you gotta do away with what the hell you think you understand. Which is your what? It's your opinion.
Yep.
And opinion is nothing but pride. That means you gotta throw away what you think you understand. A lot of men hold on to what they think they know because they feel it has value.
Mm-hmm.
Not realizing that what you hold on to that you think has value is really nothing. And it's really unproductive. And it's not beneficial to you nor anybody else. Your wisdom is foolishness to the Most High. So it's best that I just throw away what I think I understand. Especially about people. Especially about people. We always guess wrong about people. We always think we understand people when we don't. People, we don't even understand ourselves. We can't even tell ourselves no. We can't even tell ourselves stop. But yet we think we're just these damn magneto minds. I know this, bro. I know what the hell this brother's thinking. He's thinking some evil. I know he's jealous of me. This brother's just jealous of me. What the hell is wrong with us? That sister just tripping. She just mad. She just mad. She just mad. I know why she mad. I cook better food than she do. My food is slamming. She can't get on my level. Wait till the next feast for to blow it out the water. Try that pot right there. No, not that one. That pot. Try that pot right there, the red pot. Try that. Tell me what you think about that pot.
Yeah.
Come on, man. We be tripping, man.
That's funny.
Let me stop, man. But people think they know something, and they don't know. That's why I said, do what?
If any man think that he knoweth anything, he knoweth nothing.
He said, man, throw away what the hell you think you know. Before you would even expect the Most High to give you something that He understands, or some valuable wisdom, some valuable understanding. Read.
It says, he knoweth nothing, yet as he ought to know.
It says, man, he don't know nothing as he should know. That means you have to throw away something when you asking the Most High for His wisdom. You got to throw away what you think you understand. Your 2-bit understanding and wisdom is not needed to interfere and to pollute the wisdom of the Most High. That's why Christ said, you can't pour new wine into what?
Old bottle.
Old bottle. You got to throw the old bottle away. He said, otherwise you put the new wine in the old bottle. He said, the bottle going to burst and the wine shall be wasted. He said, you got to put new wine in a new bottle. So what has to become new then? You do. If the Most High is going to give you that new wine, which is His wisdom, you got to throw away the old wine, the old bottle, which is the old person. You got to become a new man. Then He can pour the new wine into you. People really think that, man, you know what? The Most High don't love me. Yeah, He do. The Most High does love you. You just got to become new. Then He can deal with you. The Most High is just not fooling with people that will not change. They can't restrain themselves. He's just not dealing with them. They will waste the wisdom. They will waste his benefits. They'll abuse His benefits. So, we had a point in Job. I want you to go back to Job chapter 11. My wall, I think you had it, right?
Yeah. Verse 15.
Because we had verse 15, but I want you to read one point. Karai, I want you to go back to where you was at in 1 Corinthians, but I want you to read verse 3 right after my Waller reads this right here. Read Job chapter 11, verse 11. And then, Karai, you read 1 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 3. Read that.
Job chapter 11, verse 11 reads, for he knoweth vain men.
So the Most High is paying attention to who?
Vain men.
He's watching vain men. What else?
He seeth wickedness also.
And He's watching their what?
Wickedness.
He's watching their wickedness. Most High is paying attention, man. He's not asleep. He's not busy. He's watching men and women. He's watching everything. What else?
Will He not then consider it?
He said, don't you know the Most High is considering everybody's wickedness and everybody's vainness, vanity? But now read 1 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 3.
1 Corinthians chapter 8 and verse 3. But if any man love the Most High.
But if any man love the Most High, read.
The same is known of Him.
But just as much as the Most High is watching your wickedness, He's also watching what? Your righteousness. The Most High is paying attention to both. He's paying attention to the wickedness of vain men, but He's also considering those that love Him. He's watching that too. He can tell both of them. He can tell what a man is in both cases. Whether you're wicked or whether you're righteous, He's paying attention to both. Read on, Corral.
Verse 4. As concerning, therefore, the eating of those things.
Stop. Go to John chapter 10, verse 11 through 13. Now, yeah, break that down. You and Lance, I break that down.
St. John chapter 10, verse 11. that right?
11 verse 13, Kyle.
St. John chapter 10 and verse 11. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd giveth his life for the sheep.
Read from the top again.
St. John chapter 10 verse 11. I am the good shepherd.
Because we're talking about good and bad. We're talking about evil and righteous. We're talking about with the most a man that restrains himself.
Good examples.
Right? An example of virtue. And a man that does not maintain virtue, does not restrain himself. Well, he said, I'm the good shepherd. What is good? We just read what good was, right?
Yeah.
What was good?
Virtue.
Virtue. What virtues in particular?
Temperance.
Huh?
Temperance. Fortitude.
Temperance, fortitude. What else?
Endurance.
Patience, endurance. Right? So he's the shepherd with what? Patience, endurance, fortitude, and what else?
Says the good shepherd giveth his life for the sheep.
If I have the ability to have these virtues, then I have the ability to do what? Give my life. I've already practiced doing what? Denying myself. A good shepherd denies himself. To deny yourself, you have to have what? Virtue. If you don't practice virtue, when will you ever deny yourself to where you don't harm another person's soul? Because when we're not denying ourselves and we're free, we have free course in negative, what happens? Don't we sin against other people?
Yeah.
Don't we affect other people?
Yeah.
But then a shepherd's a what? Leader.
Yeah.
A person in a position of what?
Of authority.
Of authority. So if I'm an authority figure with no virtue, no restraint, what am I going to do to the sheep?
You'll lead them astray.
I'm going to hurt the sheep. I'm going to lead the sheep astray. But Christ said, I want to be the good shepherd. What is good again?
Virtue.
A virtuous
the virtuous leader. The virtuous authority figure. The virtuous brother. The virtuous father. The virtuous mother. The virtuous servant. Right?
Yeah.
And if you're virtuous, you're going to do what in the end? Give your what?
Give your life to the sheep.
And giving your life means what? What does giving your life really mean?
Deny yourself.
I'm denying myself.
So you're saying, in the process of denying myself, I'm denying myself not only for my own spiritual benefit, but I'm denying myself so I can lead others in the back end.
Yeah. What don't other people benefit from you not giving yourself to negative?
Yeah.
If the father doesn't give himself to liquor and being extreme in alcohol, who benefits?
The child.
If the mother practices not saying things out of her mouth that could be
damaging
to the energy of the home,
yeah,
who gets the benefit?
The children and the husband. Everybody. Everybody's happy.
Everybody, right? Right? If the children don't, if the children learn submission, who benefits also?
The parents.
The parents. When everybody practices self-denial, when everybody practices restraint, when everybody considers the other person's good, what happens? That makes them righteous. If I'm really considering others, I have to practice virtue.
God.
If I'm really considering others, I have to do what? Deny myself. And that will be like who? Christ.
Question. Would you say the process, because Central I was bringing out how you can't add on to an old vessel, right? Would you say the process of the discipline, the process of restraining myself, this is before you have the quote-unquote wisdom. This is before you're perfect in your craft, so to speak. Would you say it would get easier once you're finally trusting and I guess it quote-unquote clicks for you? After I've been practicing trying to, restrain myself in certain elements, or restrain my thought process, restrain what comes out of my mouth, or restrain, the particular deficiencies I have. Would you say it gets easier so you can get to this point of being a proper shepherd, proper leader?
It does get easier, but you got to recognize what's in you first.
Okay.
And a lot of times we don't recognize our deficiencies. They have to be pointed out to us. They have to be examined and demonstrated to us. Hey, brother, this is what you do every time you're in this situation. You have doubts. You have fears. You quit. You give up. You get weak. You get afraid. You start talking back. Or you get rebellious, or you get greedy, or when you're told to do this, you get hot. You get when things start working for you.
Can't be told nothing.
You can't be told nothing. You get high-minded. You get haughty.
Yeah.
You get arrogant. You get proud. when things start working for you, the Most High is about to strip you. So a lot of times people don't know where they are with the Most High. They're just existing, but they don't know whether they're in a good standing with the Most High or not. But somebody has to be overseeing them to remind them, hey, brother, this is the mind frame you want to be in, or this direction you need to be working towards. Because if you continue the direction that you're going, you're forfeiting your own soul, or you're about to make a grave mistake. Hey, brother, I wouldn't treat your rib this way. Or, hey, sister, I wouldn't treat your husband this way. Man, people got to know where they are. And knowing where you are helps you recalibrate and focus on what's important. Now, if people are reminded and they stay conscious about my deficiencies and my flaws, then I don't have to so much have somebody over me telling me every time. This is where Paul says, but I keep under my body so that I don't myself be not a castaway. Yeah. Paul says, I practice self-control. I keep myself under control. And so, and if you keep yourself under control, you don't have to worry about somebody controlling you. If you can have your own restraint, you create and develop your own sense of, I can't do this. This is not a good idea. You ain't got to worry about somebody yelling at you. Hey, brother, counseling. Come over here, brother. I gotta tighten you up. You don't have to so much worry about it because you've created your own consciousness, and you developed a heightened consciousness. And that's what everybody, if they develop a heightened consciousness or an awareness of where they are with the Most High, they don't have to get in trouble, so to speak. Yeah. It does become easier.
The bridle won't have to be so restrained.
Yeah, somebody got to pull the damn bit back. We never even finished that. Finished that in Psalms 32. We never even finished that point because what you said actually finishes that point.
Yeah.
Psalms 32, verse 8 and 9. Verse 9, really.
You got it.
Okay. Psalms chapter 32 and verse 9. It says, be ye not as the horse or as the mule, which have no understanding.
Go ahead.
Whose mouth must be held in with bit and bridle.
So that means you have to have an external force control you. You have to have a separate force or entity that controls you because you don't have self-control. So for those that can't develop, that haven't developed self-restraint or self-control or moderation, they have to have a device to do so. Now, if you understand what your weaknesses are, and you start to develop a consciousness, you start to develop moderation, you start to develop self-control, then it's like a dog that you don't have to put on a leash every day.
That's true.
I got some dogs that must be on a leash, unfortunately, because as soon as the gate is not all the way closed, they shoot out and they don't come back for about 20 minutes.
Yep.
And they be running in people's yard. They be pooping in other people's yard. They be eating up other people's food, dog food outside. They be barking in other people's fences. They be chasing cats. They be running in the street. So until I can develop some training and some time to train, them leashes going to be on them. And that's how man is. But man, if man could only understand where he's deficient at and start working on those deficiencies, he doesn't have to have somebody breathing over his neck, telling him what to do and how much to drink and where to go and what time to come home and make sure you pick up your phone and how come you didn't make a phone call. You don't got to worry about all that oversight when you learn how to control yourself. But until that time, there's a bit and a bridle. For what?
It says, be not as the horse or as the mule, which have no understanding, whose mouth must be held in with bit and bridle, lest they come near unto thee.
He says, otherwise, they're not coming close to the Most High. Otherwise, you're not gonna. You can't make it to the Most High being a wild stallion, being a wild animal. You're not. Not happening. So we're at John chapter 10, right? We were reading verse 11 and 13. I don't know where you got. Where'd you get to, though?
Just 11.
I was in the first point. It said, I am the good shepherd. I give my life for the sheep. Just showing good is virtue. And virtue means you give your life for others. But how do you give your life for others? By practicing self-denial. And when you deny yourself, others benefit from your absence, from your sobriety, from your studiousness, from your discipline.
Yep.
And then that makes you like Christ.
Very much so.
And then the rest of the point, I didn't get to it, but...
Yeah, go ahead and read that. That's a good point.
St. John chapter 10, verse 11. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd giveth his life for the sheep.
It says what?
The good shepherd giveth his life for the sheep.
So there's a sacrifice involved, right? Christ is explaining the sacrifice. He says the good shepherd, the good leader, giveth his life for the sheep, right? He's explaining the sacrifice. And I'll answer that question in just a second. Read on.
You want through 13? Or?
Yes, through 13.
Come on, verse 12. But he that is an hireling.
It says, but he that is a hireling, what's a hireling?
Person that's
working just for pay.
Yes.
Just for pay.
A person that's doing something just for money. So the intentions are different. Somebody that's sacrificing has different intentions for somebody that's just there to get a check. He said, but the hireling, or just there for physical monetary reward, or for worldly reward. Read on.
But he that is a hireling, and not the shepherd, whose own the sheep are not, seeth the wolf coming, and leaveth the sheep.
It said they see the wolf coming, and they do what?
Seeth the wolf coming, and leaveth the sheep.
They abandon the sheep. Read on.
And flee.
And flee. Save themselves. They're in it for themselves. He said they save themselves. Read on.
The wolf catcheth them, and scattereth the sheep.
Read on.
The hireling fleeth.
Why? Read on.
Because a hireling.
Because he is a hireling.
Because he is a hireling, and careth not for the sheep.
So now, what is the whole purpose of Christ giving us this parable?
It's showing us where our actual care is at. Like, is it in our personal gain, or like why are we actually doing it?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
He's showing you the difference between the good shepherd and a hireling. The person that's for the people and the person that's against the people, based upon their level of temperance, as far as in the good shepherd being able to abstain versus the hireling is not wanting to abstain.
Close.
The dedicated spirit, or the shepherd, goes the extra mile to take care of what he finds valuable. Versus the hireling, if it's not aligned with his objectives, everything else can fall to the wayside.
One is showing you that one person will risk themselves, to because he cares for the sheep. One person will not risk himself because he doesn't care for the sheep. He's showing you two different mentalities. One that will take risk and one that won't take risk. Now, that's very important. We'll revisit this point in just a second. That's very important. But go to St. John chapter 21 to tie this together. Chapter 21, verse 15 through 17.
You said St. John 21 and verse 18?
Yeah.
Damn. St. John chapter 21, verse 18.
Verse 15 through 17.
Okay, 15 reads. It says, so when they had dined, Yahushua said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me more than these?
So Christ is asking Peter, out of all the disciples, he says, do you love me more than the other disciples? He's asking him a question. Do you love me more than the other disciples? Read on.
He said unto him, yeah, Lord.
He said, yeah, Lord, I do. I love you more. I love you more than the other disciples. I love you the most. Read on.
Thou knowest that I love you.
He said, you know I love you. Read on.
He said unto him, feed my lambs.
He said, well, if you love me, do what?
feed my lamb.
He said, sacrifice for my what?
Lambs.
Feed my lambs. What else?
He said to him again the second time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? He said unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee.
You know I love you. Why you keep asking me? Read on.
He said unto him, feed my sheep.
Read on.
He said unto him the third time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? Peter was grieved.
He said, man, by this time Peter was what?
Grieved.
He was grieved. He was angry. Why you keep asking me these questions and I just told you the answer? Read on.
Because he said unto him the third time, lovest thou me? And he said unto him, Lord, thou knowest all things.
He said, you know everything.
Thou knowest that I love thee.
You know I love you. Read.
Yahushua said unto him, feed my sheep.
What is the point?
The point is to feed the sheep.
Which means what?
Responsibility. To not.
Say again. Deny yourself. Say it again.
To love the sheep like you love Christ.
Yeah, he said, if you love me, the amount of love that you have towards them, it will demonstrate the love that you have towards me. Because I'm the good shepherd. We just read Christ saying out of his own mouth, I am the good shepherd. He said, because I lay down my life for what?
For the sheep.
For the sheep. So Christ is trying to tell Peter, be about the sheep like I'm about the sheep. Yes, sir.
Going the extra mile.
Go the extra mile.
Versus not taking advantage and feeding your
Put yourself at risk or in harm's way for the sheep.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid. Don't leave them hanging. Be willing to risk yourself. He's telling them, don't be a hireling, but be a shepherd. He's training him on how to be a shepherd. Right? But in what way? Go to St. John chapter 15, verse 12.
I get it.
St. John chapter 15 and verse 12 reads, This is my commandment.
Read.
That ye love one another as I have loved you.
So what is Christ doing, and why is Christ keep saying, feed my sheep? Simon, do you love me? Feed my sheep. Simon, do you love me? Feed my sheep. Simon, do you love me? Feed my sheep. What is he trying to drive to him?
That ye love one another as I have loved you.
What is he trying to say?
He's trying to tell you, you got to be a watchman. You got to understand like Ezekiel 3:18 kind of says, if you go out, if you're going to be a shepherd, you got to go out and gather the people that have gone astray. You got to be able to tell them in their sin that, hey, you need to repent. Otherwise, it's going to, your blood is going to, I need you to die in your sin.
Okay.
Whereas that's what a hired shepherd does. But a hireling, he's going to be that one that the same verse in Ezekiel would say, I'm not going to tell you about it, so that blood is on me.
Good point. What else?
There's a person that goes to work, and work is just into the work, and there's a hire, there's a person that's there for the money. There's a person who goes to work that really loves what you do. Christ is saying, love what you do also.
Yes. But love who?
The sheep.
The sheep. He said, what you got?
I was just going to say that there's a standard to how we should be loving each other.
Yes.
Like, and Christ is saying right here, he says, I have loved you, not in the other way, but he gave his life pretty much.
The same way I love the sheep. He said, because I'm the good shepherd.
Yeah.
He said the good shepherd laid down his life for the flock, for the sheep, right? So he's demonstrated, not like the hireman, who when he see danger, see the wolf coming, escapes and abandon the flock, and they get torn to pieces. So what he's saying is make a commitment to them. What he's saying is invest into them. Invest into the sheep. Commit to the sheep. Sacrifice for the sheep. Read it again.
Come. St. John 15 and 12 reads, This is my commandment, that ye love one another as I have loved you.
Read.
Greater love hath no man than this,
Go ahead.
that a man lay down his life for his friend.
He says the greatest demonstration of love that you can do on this earth is lay down your life for what?
His life for his friend.
So he's given what the greatest show on earth is in the demonstration of love. What that looks like is for somebody to lay their life down for their friend. He's saying that's the best way you can demonstrate love in this realm, in this arena. And it matches the same love that I have for the sheep. He says, I'm the good shepherd. I lay down my life for the sheep. He's telling Peter, love the sheep, feed the sheep, dedicate to the sheep, commit to the sheep, invest into the sheep, sacrifice for the sheep. The same way I love the sheep. He's teaching Peter a certain level of love. Why is that important? Now go back to Luke chapter 8 and read verse 46.
Luke chapter 8 and verse 46. And Yahushua said, somebody had touched me.
He says, remember, at the beginning of the class, he said, who touched me?
Right.
And then Peter said, how you going to ask who touched you with all these people that throng you? How you going to ask who touched you? You see all these people? Why would you even ask that question? But Christ said what?
And Yahushua said, somebody had touched me.
Go ahead.
For I perceive.
He said stop. He said for what?
For I perceive.
Go ahead.
That virtue is gone out of me.
So when Christ said virtue left my body, go to 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 13 real quick. Mm-hmm.
1 Corinthians chapter 13 and verse 13. And now abideth faith.
It said now abideth what?
Faith.
Faith is strong. Hold this. Kariah.
No.
Finish reading that in Luke.
Luke chapter 8 and verse 46. And Yahushua said, somebody have touched me, for I perceive that virtue is gone out of me. And when the woman saw that she was not hid, she came trembling and falling down before him. She declared unto him before all the people for what cause she had touched him.
She said out loud, I've been sick for 12 years, menstruating for 12 years, and I spent all my money and nobody could heal me. So I knew if I could just touch your garment, I would be healed. Read on.
For what cause she had touched him, and how she was healed immediately.
Go ahead.
And he said unto her, daughter, be of good comfort.
He said, be of good comfort. Why? Read on.
Thy faith have made thee whole.
He said, what made you whole?
Thy faith have made thee whole.
He said, so he says, faith is powerful. He says, faith has the ability to heal people if they have enough belief. That's how powerful faith is. Faith is powerful. What you got, Amiathi?
1 Corinthians 13 and 13. And now abideth faith.
Now we're looking at faith right now. We're reading about faith and how powerful faith is. Is faith not powerful? Does faith possess strength? Does it possess virtue?
God.
Read on.
And now abideth faith. Hope.
Hope is strong. Faith is strong. Read on.
Charity.
Charity is strong. They're all good virtues. But what's the strongest one out of all of them? Read.
These three, but the greatest of these is charity.
Which is agape, which in translation is what? Love. What's the strongest virtue? Love. Why is Christ asking Peter, if you love me, feed my what? Because what is love?
It's charity.
It's charity, but it's the strongest virtue. It's the strongest of all the virtues. Right.
If I'm dealing with somebody and I know I don't have patience, I will be driven to do patience, long suffering, self.
You endure whatever the person's pitfalls are or stumbling blocks are, because you do it out of love and not for money. But there's something that happens when you do things out of love. Remember, he says, no greater love than this, that a man lay down his life for what?
Right.
His friends. So what happens when you exhibit this form of love that we're reading about? Now go back to Luke chapter 8 and read verse 46 one more time.
Luke chapter 8 and verse 46. And Yahushua said, somebody had touched me, for I perceive that virtue is gone out of me.
He said, wait a minute, somebody touched me because I perceive. That word perceive, which means to become acquainted with, to get knowledge of, or to feel. It says to I'll read it again. Perceive means to become acquainted with, to get knowledge of, or to feel. Why is this so important?
That's what you represent. So Christ, when he was on earth, he wasn't just representing himself, he was representing himself. So with her just simply touching him, he was appealing to the most that she be pure, which was he was bringing to the table.
Yes.
I love that because you have to be compassionate. It's like Peter couldn't get it. Like you're kind of tripping if you think that somebody touched you, but he felt it because he felt this woman taking what he had to give her that strength to continue.
Now there's something that you get when you do things out of love. Go back to Job, chapter 11. We were in Job, chapter 11.
Which verse?
You was in verse...
I was originally in verse 15, but you told me to go jump up to 11.
I want you to go to Job. I want you to go to Job chapter 11. And I want you to read verse 15.
Come. Job chapter 11 and verse 15 reads, for then shalt thou lift up thy face without spot.
When you remove your spots and you change who you are as a person, and you stop following after your passion and being stubborn as the mule, and you submit yourself to the Most High's instruction and his discipline, he says, read on.
It says, yeah, thou shalt be steadfast and shalt not fear.
It says, then you have no reason to doubt, because another word for fear is doubt. Then the doubts will go away. And if you have no doubts, then you have hope in the Most High. Jump down to verse 17.
Verse 17. And thine age shall be clearer.
Stop. He says, thine age shall be clearer. What does he mean? He said, thine age shall be clearer. What he said, when he's talking about age, he's talking about maturity. Spiritual maturity shall be developed. Once you change who you are, stop following your impulses, stop being about your pleasure, laying down your life for other people, he says, then things start to become more clear. You can see things better. He's talking about that age. He's talking about maturity. Go to Hebrews 5 and 16 real quick, just to explain this point.
Hebrews chapter 5 verse 16. Hebrews 5 and 16?
Mm-hmm. I mean 5 and 14.
Come on, Hebrews 5 and 14. But strong meat belongeth to them that are of full age.
So we're talking about age. We're talking about maturity. what a person can handle, what a person can understand. He said, but strong meat belonging to them that are what?
That are of full age.
And what does that mean when you're of full age? What does that mean? Read on.
Even those who by reason of use have their senses exercised.
Stop. They have their senses exercised. Stop. Now go back and read that where you are, Mawala, in verse 17 in Job.
Come. It says, verse 17, in thine age shall be clear.
So we understand what he's saying when he's talking about your age. He's not talking about your age or your number. He's talking about your level of maturity. But what he's also talking about is your spiritual discernment. Your senses. Read.
Come. In thine age shall be clearer than the noonday.
He says your sharpness, your spiritual awareness, your spiritual discernment. When you fix yourself, clean yourself up, and lay down your life for your people, you become very spiritually in tune to the sheep. This is why Christ could tell that somebody took virtue from him, but Peter couldn't. Because he had to tell Peter, if you love me, do what?
Feed my sheep.
Peter, lovest thou me more than these? Yea, Lord. You knowest I love you. Feed my sheep. What was he telling them that needed to be exercised? Your discernment need to be exercised. You would never get the understanding and the wisdom that Christ has to give you without the sacrifice of loving his people, fixing yourself first, and loving his people second. But you develop what's called spiritual discernment when you do. And that's something that Peter didn't have. And that's why Peter was flabbergasted that Christ would even ask a question and say, who touched me? Because Peter wasn't discerned. Because if Peter was spiritually discerned, he wouldn't have asked Christ a question with a question and say, how dare you ask me this question about who touched me? He would have said, it was that woman right there. But he didn't have his discernment. Why not? Because he wasn't a full age. But in order to be a full age, that means you have to fix some things about yourself. You have to remove your spots. You have to remove what's ugly about you. You got to remove what's weak about you. And you got to stop being selfish and doing things for selfish purposes. And if you can do those things, your spiritual ability of awareness and understanding and insight and discernment will become clearer. He says, clearer than noonday. What else?
Thou shalt shine forth.
He said, and your understanding shall what?
Shine forth.
Your understanding shall shine forth. So the Most High doesn't give us his discernment until we fix us and then sacrifice for his people. Then you get to see things. You get to perceive things that you never perceived before. Because now the Most High is sharpening your understanding. Finish that in Hebrews chapter 5 verse 14.
Hebrews 5 and 14. But strong meat belongeth to them that are of full age, even those who by reason of the use have their senses exercised.
He said they're having their senses what?
Exercised.
You need to get your senses exercised. And when your senses become exercised, what happens?
To discern both good and evil.
Your discernment increases. The class is called Obtaining Discernment Made Easy. How does a person obtain or receive discernment from the Most High?
You have to have your senses exercised.
You gotta. There's a process. Say it again. You gotta speak up. Throwing away what you think you know.
First, you got to admit that you're a problem, and then you go and you work on it. And you form yourself, you go and you work on it.
Identify your flaws and your impulses. Identify the attributes that show that you're like a horse or a mule. Yes. And you got to be reformed. You got to reform yourself. There has to be a reformation process. What else?
Removing your spots, removing sin from you.
Yes, putting sin far away from you. See, as you start to do all these things, there's something that starts to develop. Your spiritual discernment. Your ability to recognize things and recognize what the Most High is doing. Yes. Yes. And when this happens, you become sharper. You're now a person of full age. You now become spiritually mature. The problem is we're spiritually immature because we haven't changed who we are, and neither do we sacrifice for the right causes. What Christ was working on with Peter is his discernment. That's why it was Peter that asked Christ, why would you ask me this question? You see all these people? But he said, the virtue left for me. Because Christ understands that discernment is gotten through love. That's how discernment is received. Discernment is given by the Most High when you love his people and you fix yourself. That's the reward. That's one reward of spiritual discernment, is when you throw away you and the old man who you used to be. That's the reward and the benefit of it. And that's why Christ knew that somebody took virtue from him, because he loves his sheep. That's why he says, I'll read it again, or somebody read it again. Read it one more time.
Luke chapter 8,
No,
verse
we're gonna read St. John 15 and 12 through 14.
Come. St. John chapter 15 and verse 12. This is my commandment, that ye love one another as I have loved you. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. Ye are my friends, if ye do whatsoever I command you.
He said, you are my friends if you do everything I command you. What Christ was telling Peter was, in order for you to be my friend, you got to feed my sheep. But also, I will give you my discernment. And that's something that we don't have because we don't do it. Because we're too stubborn. There's wisdom that the Most High wants to unload on us. He wants to unload all kinds of benefits on us. All kinds of his understanding and his counsel and his will. Read on.
Come. Verse 15. Henceforth, I call you not servants.
He said, and if you can get my discernment, if you can learn how to think like I think, if you can become conscious like I'm conscious, if you can become sensitive like I'm sensitive to the sheep, he said, then you go from no longer being called a servant, you're being called what?
For the servant knoweth not what his Lord doeth, but I have called you friend.
He said, but I call you, graduate from a servant to a what?
Friend.
That only happens when you become a full age. When you elevate your discernment. But in order to increase discernment, you got to get out of your flesh. You got to throw away what's evil about you. And you got to start living for the right purpose. Then you can get his discernment, and when you do, you go from servant to friend. What else?
For all things that I have heard of my Father, I have made known unto you.
Then you get what I have to give you. Everything that I got from my Father, I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to download it to you. Now you can get wisdom on tap. Now you got wisdom in abundance. Now you got understanding in abundance. Read on.
Come, verse 16. Ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you, and ordained you.
That what?
That ye should go and bring forth fruit.
Go ahead.
And that your fruit shall remain.
Go ahead.
That whatsoever ye shall ask of the Father in my name, he may give it to you.
Go ahead.
These things I command you.
But this is only gotten by one way. Read.
that ye love one another.
The church and the body of Christ, according to Ephesians, read Ephesians chapter 4, verse 16. The church and the body and the members of Christ is held together by one way. Read Ephesians chapter 4, verse 16.
Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 16. From whom the whole body fitly joined together.
It says the whole body is what?
Fitly joined together.
Go ahead.
And compacted by that which every joint supplies.
It says all the body parts and the members of the body, like your toes and your ankles, your heels, your calves, your thighs, your groin, your back, your torso, all your organs in the inside. Every limb on your body is connected by blood vessels, and it supplies each other with food and nourishment. He says every part of the body is connected. He says that's the way the Most High tempered the body together. Read.
According to the effectual working in the measure of every part.
Go ahead.
Making increase of the body unto the edifying of itself in love.
Unto the edifying of itself in what?
In love.
How did the Most High temper the body together? Love. This Christ's love for the body is what made him sensitive to the body. That's how he was able to perceive that the virtue left him. Because he loved his people so much, he's sensitive to them. The problem is, and I only bring this class out because it took a long time to understand this, that if the spirit of let's say a drug comes upon me and I get the impulse to want to do drugs, which I don't, but if I do, then what I don't recognize is that the spirit that's on me and why this is happening to me is not because I want to do drugs. It's because somebody in the body wants to do drugs.
Which is true. It's 1,000 times experience. You'll start over time. The Most High will hit you with certain temptations that are not in your normal Rolodex of issues. Everybody has their maybe 3 or 4 issues they deal with, they battle with. But you get out of nowhere impulse. And it'll be a strong, intense impulse. You're like, why? And then you go to counsel. This bud totally flipped out that day. And then his flip out was the impulse you were feeling at 10:30.
Yeah, but you didn't recognize it as being, why is this spirit hitting me? The spirit is hitting you. If you had enough love in yourself, you would know that the spirit to want to watch porn is not something that you normally want to do. But it's only hitting you because it's getting your attention because somebody else in the body is being affected by that same spirit.
Because you're tempered together.
Yeah, or because you're tempered together. But you're not sensitive to the people around you because you don't love them enough. But if you love them enough, you would recognize that the spirits that hitting you is on your own children. The spirit that's on you is on your wife. The spirit that's on you is on your husband. Or the spirit that's hitting you is on your friends. Why is this spirit to just want to go do what I want to do on me so strong?
The scripture says spirits jump like frogs.
Yeah. But what you would know is, if you're sensitive enough, you would know that spirit wasn't for you. If you were sensitive enough, if you loved the sheep enough, you would know, man, the Most High got me feeling this for what reason? Let me stop for a minute. And let me ask myself, why am I out of my character right now? Why I just want to go ham on a liquor bottle right now? Why am I at the liquor store right now? Why am I at this strange person's house at 11 o'clock at night right now? Is it really about me, about what I want? Or am I sensitive enough? Am I spiritually mature enough to know that temptation is plaguing me because it's plaguing them? They're feeling that. So if I don't get out of myself, especially if you are a parent, especially if you are a father or a mother, especially if you're an elder or a brother or an officer, if you don't get out of your own head and realize the spirit of adultery is on you so strong, it's not because that's what you want to do. It's because somebody is failing or about to fail in giving themselves to adultery. Because usually when you tell yourself no, I'm not going to be explicit, but there's certain things that, for example, if we're at the fair in Albuquerque, or we're at the fair in another city, and we vibing with each other, and we dancing, and we hyping up the scene, and we selling product, women start being drawn to you. And they don't know why they're drawn to you. They're just drawn to you because they see somebody that enjoys what they do, and they want to be a part of it. So they confuse that for, man, this will be a great husband. They confuse that for lust. I'm attracted to this person. Yeah. And if you're there at the zone working, and they're coming on to you, and if you're weak to that impulse, everybody else is fighting that same battle. And their strength is dependent upon your discipline. How do we know this is true? Go to Exodus. Give me phone trip. Hold on. Give me this point right here. Exodus chapter 17, read verse 12.
Exodus chapter 17 and verse 12. Read.
Start at verse 8.
Verse 8. Then came Amalek and fought with Israel in Rephidim. And Moses said unto Joshua, choose us out men, and go out, fight with Amalek tomorrow. I will stand on the top of the hill with the rod of the Most High in my hand.
Read.
So Joseph did as Moses had said to him, and fought with Amalek. And Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. And it came to pass, when Moses held up his hand, that Israel prevailed.
It said when Moses held up his hand, who prevailed?
Israel prevailed.
Who was responsible for the victory of Israel?
Moses.
He was the shepherd. He was the leader. So as long as his hands was up, Israel did what?
Prevailed.
Read on.
And when he let down his hand, Amalek prevailed.
And when Moses' hand got weak, the enemy prevailed. What does it show you? They're dependent on who? The leader. The victory is all dependent upon the strength of the shepherd. When the shepherd is weak, the sheep lose the battle. When the shepherd is strong, the victory is in the hands of the Israelites. The shepherd is instrumental for whether the people rise and fall, or win or lose. So when you get hit with the impulses that you get hit with, you're supposed to recognize this and say, man, if I do this, the people around me are going to lose. If I give myself to this weak-ass element, or these drugs or alcohol, or these impulses, or this flesh, or this lust, or this pornography, or this adultery, if I give myself to this, these people are going to suffer. It's not hitting me because I want to do it. It's hitting me so I can wake up and realize somebody needs me to be strong. Read on.
Come, verse 12. But Moses' hands were heavy, and they took a stone.
Yeah, because he's an old man. But if he don't keep his hands up, they're going to lose. So you got to find a way to win. You got to find a way to keep your hands up. You know what that means? You better come up with more of a reason or strategy to stay strong, because when you get weak and give into your flesh, it's supposed to be a signal and a sign that the people around you need you to be strong. That's why it's affecting you. Yes, sir.
Is that similar to when it says in Proverbs 29:2, where it says the righteous, when the righteous are in power, the people rejoice?
Yes, very much so.
When the wicked are in power, the people mourn.
Yep, very much so.
It's based off of the head.
Yeah.
Based off of what spirit they entertain.
Yeah, very much so. I believe that's also Ecclesiastes 8, as the head is. So is his officers.
It's 10 and 2.
10 and 2. Read that.
10 and something. It's Ecclesiastes 10. Yeah, it's 10 and 2.
Read that. Yep, Ecclesiastes 10 and 2.
God, Ecclesiastes 10 and 2. As the judge of the people is as the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers.
It says, so the people are going to mimic the actions of the judge, the ruler. So if I'm a parent at the house and I got this impulse and this bad idea to do something dirty, what's at stake?
Your house and their spirits.
Everybody depending on you is at stake. But when I got this idea to go for my pleasure and my flesh, that should have been a sign that, hey, man, that should have been a wake up. Why did I want this so bad right now? Because my kids want to do exactly what I'm doing. Because my kids want to smoke Cool Filter Kings. Because my kids want to smoke weed like I smoke weed. Because my kids want to guzzle alcohol like I want to guzzle alcohol. Because my kids want to indulge in flesh, and they flesh like I'm doing. It's supposed to have been a wake-up call for you. You're supposed to have a heightened level of discernment to know that it's hitting you because it's going to hit them. We don't understand that. Read.
And what manner of man the ruler of the city is.
It says, and what manner of man, you might as well say the shepherd is. And whatever manner the man of the shepherd is, read.
Such are all they that dwell therein.
So if you're weak to your impulses in your flesh, what is the estate of everybody in your house?
The same way.
Everybody else going to get weak and go to their flesh just like you do. You set the tone of strength in the household. Especially when you're a parent or you're a leader. You set the tone. Do you think that you was the only one that wanted to roll up a doobie? You got to be out your mind. That spirit was only hitting you because the sheep wanted to hit the doobie. We don't understand it because our spiritual discernment is that we don't love the people enough. If you love the people enough, like Christ is explaining, you will have a heightened sense of awareness and understanding, and you'll know why these spirits are hitting you. It's not just because you're evil. It's because the evil is around the people that need you. Finish that?
Verse 3. An unwise king destroys his people.
They said, but an unwise king don't have no damn discernment. He'll be weak in front of them. He'll do weak things in front of them. He'll compromise their safety and their discipline and the example. He don't give a shit about the example. He destroyed the people. Read on.
An unwise king destroyed his people, but through the prudence.
Through what?
Through the prudence,
which is a virtue. Prudence is a virtue. It's an extra level of caution. Read.
But through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited.
It says the city shall be maintained. So why do people's houses fail?
Because they don't have no prudence.
They don't have enough.
They're missing the ingredient of prudence.
And what will prudence do? It will sustain the household. But when you go for your flesh, because you're vulnerable to temptation, you're supposed to recognize this is a red flag for me that my people need me. There's supposed to be a red flag that I got this, all of a sudden I got this, I just want to gorge, or I just want to hit my flesh up, I just want to hit the strip club, or I just want to, man, you're supposed to recognize these spirits. They're hitting me because they're attacking the people around me. And the minute I give in, they lose. And if I don't give in, they win. People have to become understanding enough to recognize why these things hit them. Why are things pulling on me? Why am I getting weak all of a sudden? And then if you fight that impulse and you fight that feeling, it'll make sense real soon that your house was under attack, or your friends were under attack, or somebody you know was under attack, and you needed to say no so you can strengthen them to say no. Yes, sir.
Or like it's easy to see like when we're riding in the trucks and we're doing our jobs, and you know one man gets sleepy, the passenger man gets sleepy, and then you start getting sleepy. But when there's two sleepy men and you're the driver, and they feel that
it's heavy.
Sleepy,
it's heavy
because there's an extra person that's sleepy, so it hits you even harder. So if you get a feeling that you had before, but it's even hitting you harder, it's because more people around you.
Because more people need you to be strong.
Right.
And the more people that need you to be strong, the heavier the spirit is going to be on you to be weak.
Yeah.
So can you imagine how heavy Moses' arms are at this point?
Yeah.
He's holding up the whole victory on his arms. He said, so they put a stone on his arm. Finish reading that.
Con. Exodus chapter 17 and verse 12 reads, but Moses' hands were heavy, and they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat thereon, and Aaron and Hur stayed up his hands, the one on the one side and the other on the other side.
Yeah, you better have some support. Somebody got to help stay your hands up. Read on.
And his hands were steady until the going down of the sun.
Go ahead.
And Joshua discomfited Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword.
Now, so the victory was in Israel's hands. What is the point of all this? Read on.
Verse 14, and the Lord said unto Moses, write this for a memorial in a book, and rehearse it in the ears of Joshua.
Why would this be written down? Why is it so important? He told Moses to record this. He told Joshua, rehearse this in the ears of Joshua, write this down, and keep reminding this to Joshua. Read.
For I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven.
But, more importantly, it's so that we could understand that if we're in any type of parental position, leadership position, shepherdship position, officer, soldier position, that the spirits are going to hit you, not because it's hitting you only, because it's trying to affect the people around you. This is why you got to be strong. And you got to say no to your impulses. You got to say no to your flesh, because people are depending on you. That's why Christ kept asking Peter, Peter, do you love me? Feed my sheep. Do you love me? Feed my sheep. Do you love me? Feed my sheep. Because he's trying to get him to invest into the sheep. And the more invested he is, the more sensitive he is to them. Do we understand? Yes.
I was just going to say, the more connected, it looks like, as far as like, you know, the body, when you have the body around, it's like you're interconnected with each individual.
You are.
That's a part of the body, to where you're able to sense problems and scenarios on people.
You should. But that comes with discernment.
Spirits that can hit you.
Absolutely. We understand. With that, we're going to say shalom. It's already 11 o'clock. Didn't want to go this long. Started late. Salakia. We'll be back in action on Friday. All right. Shalom, everybody. We're going to go ahead and just close it out. Shalom. We'll see you on Friday. Good water for everybody watching online. Shalom.